look just like one of us.
Yes.
Too much, probably.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. As much as I love laughter, it's the greatest thing that's been created by God. We're gonna have to go on. But thank you for the laughter tonight. We're gonna get our workshop for December started this evening. We have instituted public comment, but tonight there are no signees for public comment. So we're gonna continue on with our agenda tonight. The first item on the agenda is a special announcement from our Director of Schools, Mr. Curtis.
And good evening. On November 30th, 2017, I was selected as the Cannon County Board of Education to be the interim director of Cannon County Schools. Then on March the 29th, 2018, I was selected to be the permanent director of Cannon County Schools with a 4-year contract through June 30th, 2023. I would like to announce my retirement from Cannon County Schools effective July 1st, 2023. This will culminate 37 years of serving Cannon County Schools, 16 years as an elementary teacher at Westside Elementary School, 6 years as principal of Westside Elementary School, 10 years as U.S. Government Advanced Placement U.S. Government Politics and Sociology teacher at Cannon County High School, and now 5 years as the director of Cannon County Schools. It has been my privilege and honor to be associated with some of the finest educators in the state of Tennessee at each of the above assignments. I have also been blessed by the numerous Cannon County Board of Education members that I have served under during this time and as my term as director of Cannon County Schools. As a young and mostly naive 23-year-old Lee College graduate, I walked through the doors of Westside School in August of 1986, and now I will leave office on June 30th, 2023 as a 60-year-old man full of a lifetime of memories and thousands of Cannon County students that have impacted my life from the only school district in which I have ever served in. I will continue to work on making this the finest school district in Tennessee until June 30th, 2023. Sincerely, William Freddie Curtis, Director of Cannon County Schools. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Curtis, and thank you for your service. We'll have more to say about that, I'm sure, on Thursday night. I mean, tomorrow night, not Thursday night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Number 2 on the agenda will be to approve the agenda. Item number 3, well, let's stop right there. Any corrections or additions you guys see to the agenda, current agenda, anything at all? All right, item number 3 will be the consent agenda, which is to approve the minutes of the November 10th meeting of the board. And then 2 overnight and out-of-state trips. We have trip number 4277, and that's the CCHS cheer competition team. That's in February, the 8th through the 13th, and that's going to be in Orlando, Florida. I believe Miss Holly's here tonight.
I am.
And then we have a second trip, and that's trip 4278, CCHS Southern Regional Trade Show. That's in January through February 4th. February 4th, and that's going to be in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Miss Holly, you have anything you want to add or tell us about?
Well, the girls have worked super hard for this. They had to earn it and get their bid, and it's the first time in Cannon County history that we've been able to do this, and it's been no small feat. So I took over, 3 years ago, been in cheer here in Cannon ever since I can remember, and so we've just been working towards this, and so the girls are really excited, so excited that even our little mini cheerleaders think they get to go too. So I mean, it's really cute, and so but they've been working really hard. We've been planning, we've been fundraising, and so we're really hoping that we get approved today to be able to do that.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Holly?
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, thank you.
It will be, Derek just said that, it will be tomorrow when we make the.
Yes,
vote.
yeah.
So,
Are you going by bus?
No,
Yes, yes.
We're going by school bus.
Oh, God bless them.
So here I am. She has
Yes.
no idea I'm gonna do this.
Oh my
Nobody
gosh,
does.
okay.
But guys, I'm short drivers. I don't know. I mean, she Miss Kathy Simon to take her. That's near impossible right now with me driving every day because I can't cover 2 routes and be down there. So they need probably help to get a charter bus, but it's gonna kill me to get them there.
Ms. Holly, do you
Yeah,
know how much
so-
a charter
It's gonna
bus
kill them to
would
ride
take
it, but it's gonna kill us to.
Yeah, so it's
You're
gonna
gonna
be
get
like
complaints because-
$9,000.
9,000?
Yes, for a charter bus.
Yes.
It's very expensive, and there are only 14
Senior
girls
trip-
on the
senior
team.
trip, that's
So
what
we
it's called.
actually did put it out to like parents, cause I thought, well, if parents and everybody wanna come along and everybody have a ticket amount, and then we take everybody, but we could not get but like maybe 4 parents that were willing to pay the ticket because they just wanna drive. And so, it's like one of those things, it's like, we're a team, I want us to go as a team, so that way we can all get there and I don't have to worry about who's getting there, who's breaking down, who's late, all those kinds of things, but a charter bus is $9,000, and we did shop around a little too, it's very pricey. On top of going to Orlando and the registration fees and, staying there, I mean, it's just really pricey. It's unfortunate that the girls are so great and they're athletes and they deserve to do this, but it's very expensive.
Have you checked, like, flight costs?
Well, so flights would have been great if we would have known that we were going like months ago. But because now we're looking at, it's the holidays and then it's February, flights are very expensive.
Yeah.
So, that's when I did contact Lisa about it a while ago and was like, hey, do you think this is doable? Do you think we can, no, it is not like A1, like accommodations, but we're gonna make it work. And so I'm not sure what to do at this point. She like threw me, I don't know, I didn't know that she was.
Well, it's okay, we'll make it work if
Yeah,
you need
yeah.
to go in a bus, but
Yes.
it's just,
It's hard cause the team's not huge.
Right.
So
that's the problem.
Yeah.
it's just not like
That's-
Beta where it's like 100 kids are going,
Right.
you're
How many
talking
girls you
40,
taking?
Holly,
14.
we
14?
14.
we went in 2010, I think, 2008, 7, somewhere in that area, when my daughter was a freshman, to Florida.
Yeah.
And we did parents, and if you'd had enough parents, Melanie, you were involved in that, so, we caravan.
Yep.
And, because we were in the same position.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Well, that's what I was saying, like, maybe if you could get like a local church to loan you a van, you know,
That's
like
a
a
good
church bus or.
Well, and the problem there becomes then their insurance have to cover for us. And
Oh,
so
Believe
that's a
me,
good
I
point.
have looked at
Yeah,
lots
and we're gonna
of
take them if you need
options.
us to, we're gonna get them down
Yes,
there, but.
Holly,
Yes.
that 14, that's the girls or that's 14 that need to be
That's
on the bus?
14 that has to be on the bus.
That includes you.
Yes, and then plus me and Addie, for sure.
So 16 or 14, that's 14 including the 2 of you.
No, it's just
16.
14 girls, so 16,
16.
yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But then on top of it, you know, we have like luggage, props,
Mhm.
flags. I mean, you know, we're not just like traveling light either. So it's like,
It's like a school bus would
it,
work.
yes, yes.
Our charter bus work.
Yeah, two bus would work great, but I
Yes.
mean, $10,000 is a lot of money, yeah. We'll do what we have to do.
Because one of them seats like 55 people, and then you're only taking like 20. It's just a lot of money.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
What's the furthest we ever taken a school bus?
I took one to, Washington DC.
I mean, how long ago was that?
It's called Lawrence, and it was, it wasn't terrible, we
Because they're
went
really
and
building
spent the
this
night.
up.
We went to Savannah, Georgia. So I've been 16 hours. It's doable. It's hard and it's tiring for the driver. Ugh. But we can do it. We've done it before. We'll do it again.
So is there a certain number of hours you can drive?
14. I can do
You got
10, but I
some.
have to take breaks, so a total of 14. so we can make it. Been there and done this, have a road trip, have the map, have all my logging miles on it. It's not my first time.
I need a chiropractor by the time I get there.
Yeah, I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it to pay for me.
Y'all need to go,
That's free, Antigua.
y'all need to go a day early so those poor girls can like lay on the beach.
Poor girls, I'm gonna be,
Well, it's Orlando, so there's not really a beach close, but I mean,
No.
when we get there, we've padded a day of like just getting acclimated to where we are, finding
Yeah.
practice locations, you know, all of that good stuff, so, yeah.
All right, thank you, Ms. Holly, thank you, Ms. Lisa. Okay, any comments about the, regional trade show, Mr. Nichols? Is there anything about the, is this Aaron?
No, this is,
Crystal.
Oh,
Miss
okay,
Kennedy.
okay, Ms.
We'll be
Kennedy?
flying.
yeah.
How many students, does this,
11.
11 of them? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Anything we need to know other than that?
We just found out that she placed in the regional business plan, so they're gonna present down there.
Okay.
So,
Wonderful, congratulations.
Yay.
All right. All right. Item number 4 on the agenda tonight is a financial report from the Cannon County Finance Department personnel. I do not believe any of them are here. No?
Madam Chairman, I did receive a note today from Finance Director Hickman. She has been ill, so, which they are going to be there tomorrow night for the budget. They said they would be there tomorrow for the budget workshop.
And if you guys did see in your email last week, I believe Mr. Douglas Jennings sent a year-to-date budget. So just make sure that we all look over that before tomorrow night.
And you should have that in your packet too. You got the latest
Yeah,
in
it's in
the
the
packet
packet.
that you got to, in your packet for tonight.
All right. Item number 5 is an update from architect Gregor Smee.
All right, so Mr. Medford, if you could get Mr. Smee on there, he is muted. Can we get him bigger?
I don't think you need to be any bigger.
There you go. We can see you now, Gregor. And Joey's here with us too tonight, so, don't see Greg. I'm not seeing Greg here, but, or online, but, we've got you, Gregor, so there you go, so.
All right. Well, we are still on course for an August 1st completion. I guess I'd be a little surprised if Joe jumped up and said, "No, we're not." But I looked at his schedule today, and I think it's on schedule for that. They should be starting their block like within the last few days, and expect, at least according to the schedule, to have their block work up by the end of the month, and that includes putting in their door frames, and then they'll start their brickwork. Our biggest issue is rock on the site, and in our very last stretch of sewer and stormwater, we're into, I guess, some of the worst rock we've seen. If you want to step in and kind of explain the situation and what we're into, I'm sure they'd like to hear a little more about it, because it's just expensive. Rock underground is expensive.
This is Mr. Joe Baskerville. He is with the contractor with Sane Construction Company. So, Joe, take it away.
Okay. I brought this printout kind of just to show you guys what we've already hit with rock and what we've installed. So the blue represents the water line that's already installed and in place. And then the yellow represents the storm.
Lay it down so everybody can get a visual on that.
And then the green is the sanitary sewer.
Board members, I sent to you an email that's got the picture of this on there, so you've got that, and also in regard to the rock, how much on it is going to be estimated on the rock, so you do have copies of that.
So right now, we're just following the sanitary sewer. We have from that manhole all the way up to this area right in here, so we still have that much left. And then for the storm, we have this much left. And just based on some rough calculations, and I do feel like this is the worst case scenario.
Derek, you need to, y'all pass that down there, look at that closer.
we've got about 492.61 cubic yards left of rock to hit. And at $250 a cubic yard comes to $123,152. And again, I do think that's the worst case scenario. That's kind of what we're looking at.
Well, I can't imagine the scenario could be any worse. If you look at the contingency plans the contingency fund that we had in place, if you look at anything that is not involving bad soil or rock, we've only touched 0.02% of our contingency. We only had $6,000 in miscellaneous things that needed to be corrected. But as soon as we began to get into the soil and the rock, things began to go badly quickly. Now, luckily, it did not affect the rest of the building and the setting of the foundations and the pouring of the slab and the starting of the block work. But it certainly has a huge impact on the cost of finishing up the stormwater and the sewer. And so this latest run, which we thought would be the shortest run and the least expensive run, ends up all by itself having a cost impact of a little over 5%. It's a huge amount of money. And you all know, I think, and I know from years of experience that nobody's comfortable until you're all done with your work in the ground. You just never know what's underground. You can test bore it and you can still miss it. And rock is never a good thing to encounter. It's always an expensive thing to encounter. And it's an unfortunate circumstance to hit this amount of rock. I don't know what we would do as far as just a recommendation on any project that I was involved in when the project is in full swing and ready to move forward, while in is moving forward, and you run into something like this. The option to stop is really, just saying, am I willing to waste all the money we've invested so far? You really can't stop. You have to do your best to deal with what you encounter underground and minimize the impact of it. I think Sane is doing the best they can. Unfortunately, this last run, even though it's one of our shallower runs, apparently has run into substantial rock, and not just rock that you can scrape out, but rock that has to be removed in the most expensive way, which is either by well, he can tell us, but I would imagine they're either going to have to blast it or they're going to have to bring in machines that can break it apart. But it's substantial, or it wouldn't cost $250 a cubic yard to remove. And that was that's a unit price that any contractor would give you the same price to remove solid rock, and that's unfortunately what we've got for our last run here.
And we use a rock camera. We don't intend on doing any blasting.
Okay, that's good. We don't have any blasting. You already got enough of that going on over there, right? Well, that's about it. Other than the rock, and I really hope that in the next month when we give a report, we're all done with this, and maybe it came in a little less expensive than we thought, and we can move forward. The rest of the project moving forward doesn't. Once you're above ground, things get easy. Things get far easier. I guess we could have some really bad weather that could slow us down a bit, but that's about the worst that you'd run into. So I'm hopeful that once we get this last section done, that the rest of the project runs smoothly. That site has been a pain in my side ever since we did the first school, and we did the demo of that old t-shirt factory, and it was, we couldn't believe how much rock we ran into, and really believed that we'd removed all of it. So I was surprised. Maybe that was just hopeful. I was hopeful that we wouldn't run into it on this lower slope, but sure enough, it's the same, if not worse down there. But I still look forward to having a good project ahead of us. I'm sorry that we ran into something unforeseen in the ground, and it's just, in Tennessee, you just cannot. You're either going to hit a sinkhole or you're going to hit rock. We almost never have a site where it's good soil. Again, hopefully we'll get this behind us, and future meetings we'll have positive reports that keep us on track and keep us the rest of the way on the budget that we like to see.
Greater foundation looks good, slab looks good, and of course, it's exciting to finally see walls going up. So, if board members hadn't been by there, go by and you can see the walls that are now emerging from the rock. And then on that back side where the road's going to have to be moved to, that's where you're encountering all the fun stuff right now.
I don't know if we've shared the schedule, but certainly I can have Greg Armour share the schedule with you so you can see. But I believe that the brickwork is supposed to start at the end of this month and should be wrapping up hopefully the end of next month. So you'll see things happen pretty quickly now that we're up and out of the ground.
We do plan on starting on wood trusses first of January as well.
Excellent. That's my report for now.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
No, you're welcome, all. Thank you.
And board members, I did email to you the timeline that was submitted by Sane Construction earlier, so you've got a copy of that timeline.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Greer.
Thank you all.
Ground test before we even started?
No, ma'am.
Greer, there was a question about ground testing before we even started.
Well, we actually discussed it, and when we did Woodbury Grammar, we did, I'm trying to remember now, we did some crazy number of borings. We did something like 80 borings because we knew that we were going to be putting that groundwater system in for the geotech. And we came back with 80 borings and they said there was no rock. And apparently the rock that is on that particular site is shaped like your fingers. And every time they bored, they went in between the fingers. They never hit the rock. And so we paid a lot of money for that report back in '99, and we're told that there was no rock. And then we had well over $100,000 worth of rock on that project. And so when this one came to it, and it was such a small portion, no, we did not. We were afraid that we'd be spending our money to do the same thing, and they would probably miss the rock and not tell us. So instead, we had them give us a unit price. We put in what we thought at 5% would cover the cost of any rock that we ran into. But again, we've run into the worst situation possible. So no, we thought we had good reason for not boring. We could have done some borings. We may have found some rock. We may not have. It's a really difficult site for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all.
Item number 6 on the agenda tonight is the safety report, and that's with Ms. Bonnie Patterson.
I sent it, to you guys. I hate to follow that bad news. That's bad.
Me
Need to have a moment.
Yeah, can we have a moment to compose ourselves? No, I'm just kidding. Is there anything, I can't really openly discuss anything, but we can say that we do have our Project Basic counselor that will be starting at Cannon South, which will actually, be teaching some classes as well. Not teaching classes, but teaching children, good decision-making, things like that. And she came in today, she has her badge, and we have her at a place, and she'll be starting, so we're excited about that. I will say, and this is already out there, because our parents are seeing the police in our buildings and everything. I was on the call with the school safety committee, the state, and there will be more presence in our buildings, not just the Homeland Security, but we'll also have, we've seen the fire marshal more, because there's actually 2 entities that the governor has asked to be in our schools. So I just wanted to put that out there too, and that's all over the state that's happening. That's about it.
Any questions for Ms. Bonnie tonight? From anyone?
And I'll be glad if you have a question, you can always, you know where to find me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bonnie. Item number 7 tonight is a report from Ms. Alexander.
you receive the information in your board packet for the ESSER report. So it is time for our mid-year review. That is required by the U.S. Department of Ed on the ESSER 3 funds. I included a copy of our spending plan, which is called the ESSER Public Facing Plan, and the Safe Return to In-Person Learning and Continuity of Services Plan. Shortened can be called the Health and Safety Plan. Ms. Bonnie said that the Tennessee Department of Health and the CDC has not updated any guidance as it relates to COVID-19, quarantines, school closures, and that sort of thing. So there's really nothing that we need to change. The only thing that we have the opportunity to change, if there's a need, would be the spending plan for ESSER 3. There is the opportunity for public comment. There's a link on our district site. That has been there since August. To date, we have only had 5 responses. The only thing that I'm aware of, I've talked with principals, I've talked with supervisors. I know that Ms. Josie Sissom, who is the president of CCA, addressed the board about a potential bonus for teachers out of ESSER dollars. Of course, if that decision were to be made, I would need guidance as to where are we going to take that in the ESSER 3 plan. And essentially, the only places that could potentially be reallocated right now would be, and I put a little cheat sheet at the very end that I just typed out that's a little bit, just kind of lays everything out for you a little bit easier, but would be on, there is money allocated for the expansion that's going on now. There's also money allocated for those indirect costs. And the reason those are really the only 2 accounts that we could potentially reallocate a bonus for is we do have to maintain that 50% allocation toward learning loss and mental health supports. So to take money from other account items would be possibly putting that under that 50% threshold. But if there's anything that you want me to collect figures for, I will be happy to do that. We'll need to vote on this in January. It will have to be board approved in January, and it's due February 1st.
So is it appropriate to use ESSER funds for teacher bonuses?
So, we did use ESSER 3 funds for a bonus last year, every employee in the district, meaning support staff and certified. I am not hearing in the groups that I'm a part of that is actually being used this year. Last year it was very prevalent and very common. I would really need to just reach out to my state consultant to find out, is it appropriate to give a second bonus out of ESSER? But if that's something you all desire, I will do that. And if you want to throw a figure out, are we looking at a $500 bonus? Or last year, everyone received that $1,000 and it cost a little over $300,000 out of ESSER 3 to give every employee a $1,000 bonus.
So it was 300,000.
Yes. For $1,000, yes. And of course, some districts gave a $100 bonus. Some districts gave $500, some gave $750. I mean, there were varying amounts. Any other questions or suggestions?
How much do we have, right? Is the 2.8 what we have that we've got to spend, or is that already allocated?
Okay, so everything is allocated, well, everything is budgeted, yes.
Right,
So
that's what I
everything
thought,
is
okay.
budgeted. In the packet, the, 3rd page, 4th page, That is just a summary for the remaining ESSER two and ESSER three funds as of August. Those big categories shows you how that money has been budgeted to be spent this year. Of course, ESSER two, that grant expires on June 30th of 2023. And I did include in the update, we currently have $3,516.73 that's allocated. That really, I need to change that word allocated to obligated. There is that amount of money left that it's not encumbered and it's not obligated to any of the POs. And that is a result of just discounts from the original train POs, because if it's paid within a certain time, I believe they give a percentage discount. Miss Andrea with finance could explain that better. So we do have a little over 3,500 left there in ESSER 2. Also in ESSER 3, there's a little over 4,700 that is not encumbered or obligated. So that's a little over $8,200 that's still left in that HVAC bucket between those two funding sources. So looking at that 2.8, as you asked about, Mr. Mullins, on page 4, that's just a summary, but at the very end of your packet, I have just typed it out to kind of really break it apart as to what that money is funding, and that would be, that'll kind of show you all where that money is going. One thing that I will point out in the required benefits, a lot of time those amounts, we have money left over, but again, when we're budgeting for positions, we have to budget for the most expensive family insurance, because even if that employee chooses not to take insurance on day one, they could have a qualifying event at any time during the school year and be able to come back and get put on the family insurance. So we have to make sure that we have that money there in case there is a need. So that's why there's a lot of budget revisions in the spring as we're trying to reallocate anything that's left over.
So where you've got here, it says, drugs/medical supplies, and then you've got keep or,
Yes.
what is that?
Okay, so.
Did they not give us COVID-19 tests for free, like the state does it? Do we have to buy them?
That would be,
They didn't at first.
right.
So when we first did it, we had to supply all, that wasn't for COVID testing. We had the ELC grant. Is
For
that what
that.
you're talking about, the ELC
Yes.
grant?
So,
Well,
like,
it says under the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Under that, it said COVID-19 tests, et cetera, so that's
Yes.
why I said that.
That was under the ELC grant, and we had to purchase those tests.
well, this is on ESSER 3, but the rationale behind that was is the
Oh,
state
yes,
did not
yes,
provide
yes.
us with free testing last year. But to
Okay.
get the ELC grant, we had, which we thought was only for 1 year, we had to provide on-demand testing. So when we originally put that in there, we were anticipating the potential to have to purchase more tests in the future. And that's why I've got keeper reallocating, so it's just there right now. Since all of this has occurred, we actually do have a very healthy supply of COVID-19 tests. We were able to purchase more out of the ELC grant at the very end of the fiscal year. And again, now the state's actually giving them out for free, so.
But they didn't have to be.
They did not, and they
We
were
didn't know that in
expensive.
time.
They were about $85 a piece.
Yeah, they were.
Yes. So that is why that is there. So yes, that is some money that we could look at reallocating, and that's one of the reasons I made that notation there.
So, I mean, you don't need that money though for any other, like, medical supplies or?
Well, you have to be careful because it's very limiting in what you can purchase, because it has to be, we interpret that it has to be related to COVID.
Right.
So you can't just go out and buy Band-Aids.
Right.
Yes,
right.
we could use it, I mean,
Right.
we could use it because our health service line has always been so small when it comes to
Right.
supplies for our nurses.
So we can't buy
We have a
Band-Aids or
shoestring
Neosporin
budget.
or.
So yeah, if we could have used that to purchase whatever, we would fully stock our clinic. But
It's not allowed
it
to be
has
spent
that
on that.
stipulation there, so we can't.
It would have to be something to prepare for, respond to COVID, so. But if y'all have any questions at all, also one thing that I will point out, Ms. Bonnie requested, the need was there for a fourth nurse, and we were actually we're able to get that funded over the remaining amounts left in the ELC grant. So, in ESSER 3, where we have for another full-time nurse, that could actually be left there for next year. So that was we're pretty excited about that. We were excited that the ELC grant would cover it for this year.
So instead of 1 year, we can have that position for 2 years, and the need's going to be there.
Yes. So that puts us a nurse in every building?
No.
No.
We're still one short.
I mean, we're just gonna have to be prepared to keep that in the budget. Our babies aren't going anywhere, they're our children, and we're gonna have to.
Take care of them. And one thing, I know that there's a budget meeting tomorrow night. I am scheduled to be at a textbook adoption meeting in Cookville at 4, but I will do my best to get back here for that budget meeting. But on October 13th, I believe it was, I sent you all an email that showed all of the positions that were being funded by the grants that I'm responsible for. Now, that does not include other positions that are funded by other grants or federal funds. And I really tried to summarize that so that you would see that we've either added that back to GP or when it would be added back or when it might need to be. And that fourth nurse is in that summary, and with a note that it needs to be added in FY25 for y'all. So if y'all have any questions about that, that I see you back in October, feel free to reach out and let me know.
Thank you for that email. That will be important. And thank you for this information.
Well, do y'all have any other questions or concerns? All right, is there anything that you guys want me to look at when I come back in January to present the ESSER 3 budget? Or we can make no changes.
We have a lot going on with the cooling tower and at the high school and different HVAC problems.
Okay.
There won't be any problems or reallocate things for that, correct?
No, I just need ample
We just
time
need
in order
time to
to, especially with the holidays, if that needs to be done, I have to do a budget amendment, and then, of course, it goes through a couple of layers of approval at the state court. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's nothing further from you guys. Any questions for her? Anybody good? Everybody good? All right, we'll move on then to item number 8, and that's a facilities report, which will be this for workshop only, just as the 4 prior things. And that's business system. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm gonna come in with some bad news too. The cooling tower at the high school is gone. It shut down, it froze over for no reason. We went and checked it out, it was completely, the computer system, Train has that on a computer system now, so we was able to go back and pull it. Mr. Mullins actually even come up when it happened, it was a total disaster. So we reached out to him and he come up, cause I felt like, oh Lord, if this is something we did wrong, I'm in bad trouble. But he was able to pull it, he was able to pull the software up just like I can, and it actually showed the pumps was running the whole time, the heaters was running the whole time. The ultimate thing, it was just the coils busted in several places. And that is the way that cooling tower works, if your coil is busted. So, I've already had a company to come up and look at it. They've definitely diagnosed it. I don't know, I may be shooting out in the Far East, but I actually filed it on the insurance claim. I don't know if they will cover it or not. I presented it that it's a water line. To me, a coil is a water line because that's how we're getting water through that cooling tower. It's got so far that I'm meeting the adjuster in the morning. So if the adjuster comes through with me, then there could be a part of it they will cover. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed on that one for you guys tomorrow. But to kind of give you some figures there, is the coal will cost us $84,000, and the labor to put that in is $65,000. And if you have to do the whole tower, it's $130, and that's a 10-week lead time on that as well. So and I talked to the insurance company, we are on a tight squeeze and they know it, so that's why he was wanting to work with me so fast. That's a 10-week on the coal. If we buy the whole new tower, it's $136,000 with 68 in labor, 68,335 labor, and that's a 20-week, time. And that's not even a guarantee that it would be here in 20 weeks. So and we have heat. I made sure the insurance people knew that. You have boilers. So the boilers are actually keeping the high school warm. But soon as spring gets here, they will have nothing if we do not act fast on all of this. I mean, we have to literally order something and get it ordered. So that's the bad news for the high school. The other thing was we did, get the 2 bathrooms ripped out, right?
We
ready
did.
to go.
Ready to go,
We're ready to redo those other 2 bathrooms, correct?
across from the cafeteria.
Right.
But if
So-
you haven't seen the other 2 bathrooms in the front lobby of the gym,
They
they
look great.
look really good.
Yep.
So, if you get a chance, you need to stop by.
So also they have at the gym, which happened last year during Junior Pro, those air conditioners in the gym went completely down and it was freezing cold. I got numerous calls and that was before I even took this position. They went down twice already. We're able to get those units back up and going, but they're just playing on the last leg. If you wanna have those fixed, that's gonna be another $7,266 in labor. And then the supplies for that is gonna be $4,935. Those are not new units. It just needs a blower wheel housing, the belts, and the good, just, yeah, bearings. So that would be to get that unit up and going so that they don't have no heat again this year. So that's another big expense there.
And the labor's the highest, cause that, if y'all don't, for those that don't know, where the stage used to be, you have to climb the ladder to get the parts up in there.
Yeah,
So they will have to bring in equipment, that's why your labor's gonna cost
Yeah.
so much.
yeah, it's
Just
not,
to
it's
get the
not
parts
roof.
up in there to get it fixed. And the sad part is these units ain't but about 10 years old.
Yep.
That's what happens when you neglect maintenance for all these years, and you take from maintenance budgets. This is why your drilling tower is the way it is, this is why those units just flew apart.
Yeah.
They've never been maintained, and it's biting us in the hind end there.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just,
I've worked on all of it personally, on my own time, for hours, trying to get stuff going, and it's just a lot of money, guys.
I will say that my fear is that when we hit really cold weather, the unit that's in there right now is not gonna be able to keep up with that cold
No,
weather.
the gym units need to be top priority, in my opinion.
I mean, it's gonna be cold in there.
When you hit 20 next week, it'll be cold in there. Luckily, there won't be no kids in there. But it'll be good to keep it at 60 in there.
so that's a big expense also. So Courtney actually Mr. Nichols has several big problems that needs to be addressed pretty quick.
I have a roof leak also.
Well, yeah, they have a roof leak, but we turned that into warranty, and now we've also got the people that made the fiber, people, they are actually reaching out too. They're not happy with the roofing company. We have dealt this, I have turned in 3 different warranty claims since I've taken this job, and they are just giving us the runaround that it's the units doing it. It's not the units. I mean, we've invested in covering units. It's not the units. So we've actually, I just finally said enough's enough. Mr. Curtis, you're gonna have to step in and help. So he's actually had to start making some calls to get the people that made the roofing to get involved. And they said it's unacceptable. These roofs should not be leaking. Woodbury Grammar's leaking, the high school's leaking. These are all brand new units, or brand new, roofs. So we got some major problem there. That shouldn't be out of our pocket though. I mean, that should be a warranty thing if we can just get it, taken care of.
And Fiber Time has been great. They're as aggravated as anybody else with that, embarrassed by it, and they know it's unacceptable, and they've got their representatives who are going to be on site. So we are at the top of their list, and they will be on site evaluating that. And if it's shoddy workmanship or whatever it is that's making that one spot leak in a major intersection of a hall there, they'll make it right.
Well, and it's not just the high school, it's the elementary school and it's South too. South has got some leaks out there too, and they have a new roof. So, I mean, it's not, it's, everybody's kinda getting shafted with the roof deal with, these companies. So, I mean, we are staying on those, for sure, we're staying on those. And then, of course, I went to North because they didn't have air one morning. Miss Karen called me early one morning, did not have, or heat, got down there. I spoke to Josh Overstreet, that's who's always worked on them. He said, Melanie, I've been telling them for years, these units are going out. He said, I'm just legging them along. He said, I show up and I'm able to get them going. There's 2 units down there that needs to be replaced. I have 2 different bids on those. One's gonna be $9,638 for each unit. The other quote I got today was $30,000 for 2 units. So one is way cheaper than the other one. But again, we're gonna have to get the air fixed. I mean, it's like Miss Karen kept calling me that morning, they can't hold kids in the cafeteria because it was, the coldest days. I mean, I had the high school completely froze over, the cooling tower was, froze over. I had her down there, was not being able to hold kids in that area because it was so cold, but we was able to get hers back up and going that day. But I think we're coming to the point that if I can't get them going, then it's gonna be, we're gonna have to shut schools a day or 2 until you can get something done. So those are the big things that we've got going on financially. The other things the fence is fixed at Woodbury Grammar. I've got several calls about the old gym. They're wanting to practice in the old gym. I've reached out to a couple of local people. The electricity will not hold units at the old gym. They will not. So everybody can just keep calling me. I cannot put central units over there because you do not have the breaker boxes, you do not have electrical. Now, if you guys wanna vote to spend a few $100,000, we can rewire it. We can do it all. But, it's gonna take several $100,000 to get that building up with breaker boxes and able to hold units. I was asked to check about 4 split units, and he was like, yeah, you're wasting your time. No split unit's gonna be pulling. So
when's our gym done?
it'll be, they're laying the wood. They're gonna be done tomorrow, laying the wood, and they promised me by when we come back from school. So January 1st, we should be able to get in that gym. It'd have to be something major, but it's looking good. It does look good. It really does. So they're half done. They just started this weekend, so they're half done laying the wood. So it's now to be sanding. I think that people's coming Thursday, or I know they are, to pull the bleachers away to get under that one side that has bad wood. Then they'll just sand and be ready to do everything. So that part will be done when we get to come back. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot, people.
So if we, whatever we plan on doing at the high school, whether it's replace or fix or whatever.
Right.
So our new, we'll just say new unit or refurbished or whatever, we have the capabilities now to maintain that, like Derek said.
Correct.
So it.
Correct.
Okay.
Like I have everything on the schedule now, like filters getting changed. Like the inside filters at Woodbury Grammar, the custodians do those, it's every 3 months. Rooftop, ceiling units, maintenance does that now. You have to do that about every 2 months in order to keep filters clean. You gotta make sure the belts are changed and all that good stuff. I have a HV guy that I'm, riding all the time. Make sure you're doing these things to keep these units up and going. I'm still working on the ones at, Canyon County Elementary. I know how to work on them, so I'm still working on those as well. But, yeah, it's just called preventative maintenance, and I'm sorry, it just was, just needs to be done.
So we have a HVAC person that checks them ourselves?
Yeah, well, we just hired him in,
He's a young tech.
yeah, he's just a young
He's
tech.
coming up.
He is coming up.
But
He's
I've talked
learning.
to him and he is learning and he is knowledgeable, so he knows what to do preventive wise. And the cooling tower, he wasn't real sure, but he'd never been on nothing that big.
Right.
So, but yeah, he knows how to grease the motor and change bearings
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Do both, change belts and stuff like that, so. I think we're, going in the right direction on that kind of stuff. I just think it's just, taking the time and being able to, get some of that stuff done. I'm still waiting on fire marshal approval on South. It's an email every day. You give them all the measurements, they come back and want more measurements, so we're still on that as well.
And was that the,
That's
Windows,
for the
okay.
windows, the emergency windows, that they're just giving us a hard time about. The bathroom out at South, we put the bathroom in for the teachers, it has stopped up twice, we finally just paid for a camera to run down it. It has 3 breaks in the pipe where the toilet is, it has 3 breaks in the pipe, it has 2 flat bellies, it's got a disaster going. I have asked him to give us a quote for it, he says it's gonna be way up in the thousands to get that toilet back going. So that'll be something I bring to you whenever I get a quote. He's not even got back with us, but it's definitely nothing that we can prevent. I mean, it's old piping, and I'm assuming that's why they took that toilet up years ago. 'Cause there was a toilet there, right? So they took it up years ago, and now I'm assuming that this is why they did. They knew that the breaks were there, so it'd just be whether you guys wanna fix it or not fix it. What?
They just took it out. They didn't say what.
I mean, that was way before me, and that was before Angela, I'm assuming, so,
Wow.
they just,
Probably
Yes.
80.
which Rex said the whole time, you don't normally pull up a toilet, I would give Rex, credit. He said, you normally don't pull up a toilet unless there's a problem. So, he was right, there was a problem, and that's why it come up. So, I'll bring that back to you when I have more on that one, because it's, I don't know, y'all got any more questions? It's pretty
Anybody have any
deep.
questions?
Oh, I do have, somebody quoting on Mr. Wade, I did it. We're not gonna put the fence around the cooling tower, but we are getting a quote to put the door on the ladder going up the cooling tower. 'Cause it ended up looking a lot better than what we were anticipating, so we're just gotta get them to get me a quote.
so what is the wall in the library? What's that?
Oh,
about?
that's going up, that's the temporary wall. I moved all the library books.
Why are we putting up a wall?
For the new addition, they're taking 8 feet away from our library. But right now, they're taking 16 feet, cause they gotta have 16 feet to put up a temporary wall, and then they'll start with the permanent wall. So I had to move all the library books, or we moved all the library books, and the shelving. So she lost 16 feet during this process, so we just shifted everything over. So they'll put that up, and as soon as they get the temporary wall up, they'll build the permanent wall, they'll take the temporary wall back, and she gets 8 feet back, but that's all, she don't get the whole 16 back. Cause that's where your hallway will actually run down, from that hall, it'll run down the 8 feet that we had to take from her.
How big is the whole library? Estimates?
That's huge.
It's big,
It's the
I mean,
biggest.
it's a big library,
Biggest
yeah,
library
it's
in the
big.
county.
Oh, yes.
I
A lot of
think
space,
Yeah.
there's a lot of space
Yeah.
created for students to go and sit on a bench and read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have to remove any of her student desks, like she has tables, I just had to shift them from one wall to the next.
Okay.
So that's ready, cause that was just something we were, we were asked to get all those library books moved, so we did that, we shifted all that around, so we're good on that. Any more questions? That's a lot. Sorry, I had to bring bad news too, man. It's bad.
You're all right, man. All right, we appreciate what you're doing there.
Thanks.
Take care of things. All right, item number 9 piggybacks right on top of that. It is discussion, after the report we just got, from, Ms. Sissom concerning possible action on the Canyon County High School cooling tower issue. She just gave us the quotes or the numbers on if we just did the coil and the labor and the timing on it. And then she gave us the quote on the complete tower. Did you guys get that? Y'all need that repeated. Everybody got that? So that's what we're looking at. That is what we would have to do possible action on. The gym will be low enough. amount of money that we don't have to vote on that.
Now, we can do that.
We can just
directly.
take care of it.
All she needs is the PO for us to go ahead
Okay.
and get that moving. I can act on that immediately.
Okay.
The cooling tower is a big issue, and it's an emergency. This would qualify as an emergency repair, so you don't have to bid it out. You're saying, this is what we're going with, this is an emergency situation, and if there's ever an emergency, this is the emergency, because we don't want Mr. Nichols to get right there toward the end at testing time, and then they don't have air. That would not be or a good percentage of the high school not have air. Near parts would have air because they have those individual room units. However, the older part of the, is a water source unit, units that depend upon that water flowing to keep it cool. And this is one of those deals where it's a have-to situation. The quicker we get to it, Melanie and I have talked, the quicker we get to that, the better that we will be to get this done before hot weather sets in. And, by April, it's getting hot. It gets hot enough to know it. Now, shoot, there'll be some cool days, yeah, but it's getting hot enough, and you don't have windows either in those, typically in those rooms at all. There's no windows to open anywhere. So if you're hot, it stays hot. And, my recommendation to do as quick as we can get it on somebody's agenda, get it done.
And if
Derek,
if you put the complete tower in, there will be some water redundancy and electric redundancy that they said that they could provide for us. Energy savings, we say, if you done the new tower.
What do you suggest?
That's what I was gonna say, what's your thoughts? This is your wheelhouse.
You're looking at a school teacher and a mama.
I mean, my honest opinion, if it was me, I'd put the new one in. And the reason I tell you that,
I'm not an HVAC person, but I'm gonna say I would probably agree. I think you're at a point to where this school's not going anywhere. You need to get it fixed. You don't need to patch it anymore. We need to fix it.
Right. No, we've done enough Band-Aids.
the other reason I say that too is not, this type of tower has the coolant, as Melanie explained, but it also has fill in it too. And the fill will have to be replaced sometime, where it's not had no chemicals in it until what, last year?
2 years ago.
So 20 years it had no chemicals in it. And I mean, it's just ate away at it. So, my honest opinion, if you're already in there, we would be really better off to do that in the long term. But depending on what our money funds are, I mean, we may have to do the 10 week and come back and look at that. But my honest opinion, I would shoot for the brand new cooling tower, and which in the end would save you more money as well.
And we may get some insurance money. We don't know that yet. There may be.
Is there a warranty or anything on like a new unit? I mean, I'm just asking in general.
On that tower?
On like if you bought a new tower.
I'm not sure on the cooling tower part, I'm sure there is, but a lot of times it's 5-year parts and year labor warranty, which is still, I mean, if you've got fans in them and stuff, I think the tower he's talking about has several fans in it, which will save more energy. So, that sounds like it wouldn't, but it will. I've seen that, I'll try to bring the paperwork tomorrow, but he's priced it to me, for our work also. So, I mean, it has the energy savings capability to save on electric and water. And right now, I don't know how, we're losing a lot of water, and I don't know if it's from evaporation or what, but we're losing a lot of water. We're using a lot of water.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, that's just problems I've come across since I've been doing this, but I mean, it's a lot of hits. I mean, our gas bill is, again, this month, but I'm working with Train to figure out what they've done there. I mean, it's $5,444 again this month. Last month it was 5,000 and something. Those new units we put up there was not supposed to do this, and I reached out to Train again today and said, this is supposed to be energy efficient, what in the world are y'all doing to us? Randy Motor told me today, he said, I've got the guy gonna call you, he said, this happened in Manchester, and we figured out that they put the wrong chip in it. And I was like, well, Lord, I'm hoping you put the wrong chip in all of ours, but are you gonna refund us this $10,000 we've paid in gas bills? So, I mean, again, that's just something I'm having to write them to figure out what in the world's going on with gas bills, because this is not part of our contract. We were supposed to be doing energy efficient stuff, and if we're gonna, and even Douglas talked to me, he's called me and he said, Melanie, your bill is $5,444 again this month. I've already had the gas company, they walked the whole building, they went up on the roof, we've done everything. There is no gas leak, because that was the first thing everybody kept saying, there's a gas leak. I called them immediately when Douglas said that your bill last month was that high. They were the ones that actually said, your air conditioning that you put up there is pulling 20 times more than we were used to pulling. And he said, I just think it's your air conditioning. So then when I called Trina and reached out to them, and they were supposed to get a guy to call me, he called me, said, I'm investigating it. Well, we get another bill this month, so I just went off today. I went off, I'm gonna need meds before this is over. Anybody go up and write me some med pills? But, I mean, that's what you have to do, is you have to write them, and they're not giving me an answer. I mean, that, you know, if you're gonna admit to me that you already messed up once in Manchester, then maybe you did put a wrong chip in. But I need you to get them chips fixed immediately, cause we can't pay $5,000, not when we paid $134 last year in a gas bill for Canyon County High School.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
That was 1 month?
Last year it was $134, Douglas pulled it for me, this year, $5,444. Something's definitely wrong.
Per the train contract that we have with them, they have to pay us back if we go a little bit, correct, Mr.
That is correct.
Exactly. What if
And
it's-
so they'll have to pay you back,
Right.
and so they gotta be, it's gotta be energy efficient, and right now, you
We're
consider
not
cost,
there
it
yet.
is nowhere near energy efficient, so we've got, in fact, Mr. Malden will be at your board meeting in January, so we can talk about that even more fully, and say, hey, what's the deal here? If you're EESI, and you're not, I hate to, my English teacher will probably get onto me right now, but, we ain't EESI, we're just not, and it's time for us to, we reap the savings of what we spent, what this board has spent. And it's time that the savings start adding up, and there's got to be and Melanie and I talked about that earlier today, there's got to be something that's really messed up big time for that gas to be utilized so much. I mean, it's just, astronomical. And so, I'm on it with the train folks, Melanie's on it with the train folks, so they're getting the dose of it right now. So we need action.
What time is your meeting with the insurance agent in the morning?
9 o'clock in the morning.
9 o'clock?
Yep, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah,
9 o'clock in the morning.
my professional opinion would be to replace it. Depending on what our budget is, either way, we will be okay. I mean, you just might have to do a little bit of, yeah, I'm just saying we might have to do a little bit of labor in a few more years. That's the only thing. So, I mean, really just looks at what we got.
And the only thing I would look at on that is, I'm with Derek, I think, on that. We probably need to do it with patching it, but the 20 weeks worries me.
Well,
You
that's
think
what I was
it'll
gonna
make it?
ask.
You think it's gonna make it?
Like, they'll be done in 20 weeks, or they'll just start in 20 weeks?
Probably be here in 20.
No, it'll be here in 20 weeks.
They can pull that tower out. and
Yeah,
set it
now
all
that's
the way.
not, setting it's not a big deal, it's just, I don't want them to push it back, like, oh, you know, it didn't make the cut, we're gonna be 10 more weeks out. That makes me nervous, but I definitely would
But
suggest.
that can also happen with the coal as well.
So that's about what, 5 months, so that would,
When
If
they
we
put
use
you right after
April, June. April, May, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, if we go that route, I mean, it's gonna be
If we
hard.
go that route, we can bring in like we did it with Berry, and bring in a rental chiller for 2 months.
Oh,
How
okay.
much did that cost?
It'd be probably about, what, 20?
It was 10,000 a month.
10 grand a month is what it was last time. So if you run into it, that's what you'd have to do, very similar to what we did before there.
That's what I'm worried about on the unit.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Well, you gotta
But
be.
it's
It's
anywhere you
almost,
go.
it's almost comparing it to
Lead times.
fixing it all right now, but possibly in late, or fixing it in shifts and make sure that they're ready to go.
What I'd like to say right now with me and the paper, so I don't wanna say too much. Cause I would really be, I'm really upset that we've been so irresponsible as a system for 20 years. Our maintenance has been absolutely atrocious. And,
With such costly, costly things, I mean, that's.
And I can reach out to him tomorrow, Brady with MRG and Zach, and I'll ask him what, a lot of times they can go off if people are ordering, how fast your lead times are, if they're staying pretty much on target or if they're not on target.
Right.
So, well, I can ask him more on that too. And see, I have a meeting with them in the morning anyways.
Derek, is there any other manufacturers that we could look at?
I mean, you can,
I just wonder.
there's several out there. I think Melanie already has a list of several different people that's got cooling towers, chemicals out there. And you're welcome to reach out to them and see. You know, I mean, you may open the bid process.
Well, the bid process will be
Like say that-
January at the earliest, and
Yeah.
then that's gotta be advertised in the paper, and you're looking at February minimum. February minimum if you do that with an emergency situation. You just find out your lowest one and go with it, you know?
This
Well,
thing-
and I think that also, now, MRG did tell me today, cause we have several things on here for them to fix. I mean, we're wanting the air conditioning in the gym fixed, so they're the ones quoting on that. You've got a pump you're needing reset that is literally like it's tied down with C-clamps because it was never set right. So we've got C-clamps on it, and that's on the inside of your building. So Derek and Courtney can back me up on that. If that shifts and gets brought loose, you're gonna flood the whole building, cause all your water would go in the whole building. So, the C-clamps are just a joke. We take pictures and say, holy crud, this is pathetic. But if those actually did shift for any reason, there's no controlling. All your water floods your whole building. Yes.
It's a pipe that,
You're free to, yeah.
So, they've actually quoted me on that as well to reset that, cause that's a big job too, it's a big, but I feel like, and they even said, if you use us to do a lot of this, we'll start cutting you some better deals. So, I mean, that's all I can ask on that too, is hey, if we go with y'all with the cooling tower, I need you to set that pump. Cause I think the pump deal was it 8,000 to reset the pump? Cause you have to, pick it up, put concrete down, you gotta rewire it, I mean, it's a lot to it.
Is it 80?
No, 8,000. So they'll put a new concrete slab and set it on that, bolt it down like it's supposed to, and, again, that was set wrong the first time, if I was told right, Courtney, was I not?
You are correct.
It was set wrong because it wasn't even working correctly, because you have to set those pumps on an angle. It was set completely level, so that's why they were having a lot of problems over there. Well, then finally somebody said, oh, you can't set it like that, it's got to have some height to one end of it to make it flow, am I not correct? So, they decided they would jack it up themselves and put some wood blocks on it and a C-clamp to hold it in place.
If it ever goes, it's gonna be bad.
So, I had already been investigating that to try to get that fixed, and then it's just like the cooling tower then goes, and I'm like, oh, this is just a no-win situation.
But we did find a brand new pump that had bearings redone, and we have an extra pump sitting there if one goes up. So that is a plus.
There is a plus. There was a plus.
And I know who rebuilt it, so it was done right, so we found some good news in it.
So as far as, the cost of all of this would come out of the budget, where?
I don't know. That's why I was saying we'd have to look and see.
Well, that's where you'd have to look at that. Could it come out of ESSER? Yes. That's what I'm looking at, because that's what it's designed to. You don't have to ask anybody else. It's just done. ESSER does it, and then you go forward from there. It's just
So
an
ESSER
unexpected.
can be reallocated.
ESSER three, yeah.
Okay.
Stephanie, am I correct on that?
Right, unless I could take it out of another line item, but money can be reallocated. Of course, the, indirect cost, that is just the cost of doing business per se. So that is a percentage that is predetermined by the state and that particular grant. So based on how all of the money is allocated, they allow a certain percentage of, say, any personnel that is funded. there's a certain percentage of that that the district is allowed for indirect costs, because those people are using the space. They maybe have an office or a classroom, and they're using copy machines and electricity and things of that nature, right, Ms. Kathy? So we have a substantial amount allocated there, which was the maximum amount allowed, because essentially what that is that is money that goes into the GP budget. And then as a board, you get to decide how to allocate and spend that money.
So there's not strings attached.
Right,
That's
that's right. So if we reallocate that into the HVAC line item, we just then follow the protocol that we have with all other expenditures for HVAC with, you have to have quotes unless they have a state contract. Of course, Train has a state contract. I think with MRG, we bid that out. Is that correct, Ms. Milne? And then you just, spend the money according to the approved plan and submit the documentation for reimbursement. So that can be done.
So on 20 weeks, were they pretty solid, like?
Yes, he was pretty solid about the 20 weeks. I spoke with him several times today.
Not 21?
No, no, I did, because, I mean, that's kind of, you know, our rooftop units we're shooting for those, the ones that we got the grant for and all that stuff for last year. Those are still on track to be here and installed in January, but the room units have been getting pushed out, so they're not supposed to be here until April. They'll start setting those in April, supposedly. So that was what I was a little nervous about, because those has been pushed back, but it's because it is a small unit. It is, you know, just a regular console unit for a classroom. So they're acting like this is more of I guess it's not as hard to get hold of one. I mean, console units, you have to buy a bunch of those, so that, you know, they're selling a bunch, so, but, yeah, I don't know.
It would be fortunate if we knew someone in HVAC that could pull us some strings and get us a
I
tower.
know if I could, I have this problem every day.
Yeah.
Thanks, dog, give me verses.
I promise you, I
It
know.
makes me nervous, cause 20 weeks is, I just looked it up, it's May,
Yeah, it is May.
we're May.
So we'll definitely, I'll reach back out tomorrow and say, are you definite on 20 weeks, or are they telling you 20 weeks at the most?
There's a possibility they could expedite it, but that's gonna add probably another 10 or 15,000 to it. If they will expedite it, that's gonna be.
Well, but you think about it,
If
if
I
that
was-
would save,
That would save you in the rental.
That's right.
But you
Yeah.
That's
gotta
right.
get them, if they will
Yeah.
expedite it.
That's true.
That's right. If you're gonna have to, that's a valid
I'd be on
point.
that rental immediately. I'd be on that rental in March is what I'd be on that before. And say, we gotta have this until the new one comes in, similar to what we had at
If it's-
former Woodbury
It's the
Rental.
same thing, yeah.
so I mean, that, you're looking at a rental for March, April, May.
Really, you probably wouldn't have to have it in March.
Oh, yeah, maybe
You
not.
probably April. Most time in March, the days you have, you're not gonna run that much cooling.
Yeah, back in the old days when they would go literally have a rope and pull that damper open, was usually April.
Yeah,
It's when they did that, because usually spring break-ish,
you're looking
right
at
after
April.
spring break, they
You're
would pull
looking
that
at
damper.
half of April. You could really get by for a month if you done like April 15th to May 15th.
Penny, I mean, cause you have sporadic warm days.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it's not,
It could get.
I wouldn't go much past April 15th though, cause then.
No.
No, I'm just saying, we
You
could do it,
Is that you can't chance
but
that
you
with
cut it
testing.
back to a month, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You could cut your rental back to a month and get you through the end of the year. If you pulled it in at April, around the April 15th area and ran it till, when's graduation?
May 19th, I believe.
So you run it that week to get you,
The 27th
No,
is
no,
May the
no,
27th.
Yeah.
but then you're set for August when you got all the hot days. Like I said, it's gonna be a time, I mean, I'll support however y'all want.
I know it, okay, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Well, when you ask about the 20 weeks, say, is there a cost to expedite?
Ask him if
Okay,
you
yeah.
can. Some places will expedite, some places won't.
Melanie, can you send an email just to all of us after you talk to them?
Yes, ma'am. I will.
And after you talk to the insurance adjuster and give some good news?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna dress up tomorrow.
Bring him some, here's you some coffee, maybe a muffin.
High heel shoes tomorrow.
Remember, it's an adjuster. It's not the number, it's just the adjuster. That's the adjuster, not the.
And I'm gonna cry.
We
I'm
already,
gonna
refresh on our email, so we'll be looking
Go
forward
cut
to
an
it.
onion before you.
Yeah, I'm definitely crying.
Now, what was you gonna say? I'm
You
sorry.
can't talk that.
Can't follow that.
You can.
All right, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to that email in the morning mail. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Item number 10 is an update concerning Skyward. Ms.
Well,
Lisa.
I had some information from you, but I was talking to Ms. Marcia, and I believe part of our numbers are wrong. So we're gonna wait before we give you that. I'll give it to you tomorrow night. I think my kindergarten numbers are off. So currently, I'm showing we have 1,677 students, that's not counting pre-K. The state shows us with 1,705. That's a difference of 28 kids, and we have a few kids move around every day. Kids are coming and going, and so that's probably not anything to even worry about. We're still working with Zern, SchoolNet, VizTool, and Spear. Spear still doesn't know our school names. They still have all the old school names, and so those kids are not showing up in there because they're not in that school. So I have a webinar with them on Wednesday to see if they can help me find our new schools. I have no idea why. That pulls straight from EAS, so I don't know why that's happening. VizTool, we're working on some testing with our MOS and our ALT students. They're also just showing with a high school teacher. And so I got the error is, this teacher's not assigned to this school, so it should be the elementary school and the middle school, and you're right, she's not. She's really at the high school, so that's a problem. We're gonna work on that. We're still meeting, weekly for correcting errors. I'm working with Michael and Jackie on last names. Students, when they log into the computer, they log in with their first name dot their last name. And if their parent was in the school system before, so let's just say Michael Jones, then it's wanting to put an 01 at the end of the child's name, Michael Jones 01, because it already has a Michael Jones. So that's something I'm having to go in and like kind of delete daddy and get him out of the way and then get the kid in and then put dad back in, so that's a little bit of a pain, but I don't really know how to fix that other than do what I'm doing, so we're catching them as fast as we can. Stephanie and I think we're down to 3 kids, Stephanie, or 4 that are in Zern. I think it's 4.
Well, we have new students who have enrolled, so, I just updated that today and emailed you an update, at the end of the day. We got 3 of the kids in, but with new students that teachers have reported, we still have 8 kids who are
8
not
kids,
lost.
okay. So see, we still have, and we have new ones, which I was gonna say, some of them are ESL students. And I talked with Kathy earlier, and so anytime an ESL student moves, we have to know how they're gonna be tested and how they're gonna be coded, and so that becomes an issue, so there's some of that. So we have some little issues going on here and there, but, we're working on them every day and then every week with the secretaries. I did talk to Skyward. Our on-site visit was supposed to be this week. They postponed it till after the first of the year due to sickness and, shortage of staff. So they can't get us until after the first of the year. And I think I'm gonna have to drive to Florida, aren't I?
Sorry, Lisa.
After all the
I'll take you.
70,000 here and 80,000 there, I'm like, ooh.
All right, any questions for Ms. Lisa?
I'll get you the new numbers tomorrow. I just think that first grade and kindergarten's wrong.
Thank you.
Item number 11 on the agenda is to approve resolution Board of Education 2023 number 5. Mr. Curtis.
Resolution number BOE 22/23, number 5. We received the 2022-2023 middle school CTE career exploration grant for $10,000. So, that is great news there. And so when those grants come in, then you have to do a budget amendment. So this is the only budget amendment for this month. So I congratulate the board that this is the only budget amendment this month. Ms. Crystal, you want to say anything about about that particular grant?
No, I mean, unless you have questions, already spent, so.
Already done. So,
Thank you.
very good, Crystal, thank you.
Number 12 on the agenda tonight is the pest control bid opening results. Mr. Curtis?
Madam Chairman, pest control bid opening took place on November 14th at 10 a.m. You have the summary sheet in your packet. Cook's Pest Control at $297 per month. All Time Exterminating $330 per month. Cheryl Pest Control is $627 per month, and Optimus Pest Control is $420 per month. So it looks like the Cook bid does have brown recluse control at Cannon Elementary, Cannon Middle, and Cannon County South, where we've had some occurrences in the past. And so Mr. Moorhead has worked with us very, very well over these past couple of years. It would be my recommendation to go with Cook's. And two, the other contracts, this is for 1 year. This is a 1-year contract. So we're in with the county, as well as that. They're going with Cook's, so is what I've been told by the finance department.
I think all time.
Are you from All Time? Would you like to talk to us?
But I had the pleasure to do a tour with Melanie. I toured the schools and I was able to go to some of the county buildings. A lot of the complaints I was hearing, just from other people there, was the service they were getting was not the service that we provide. I mean, to provide a good service, the pest control, it's a partnership. You have to be willing to have a tech that's gonna go there and spend a little time, take pictures, take notes. They're gonna have to go in and see things that are going to cause the problems, and you gotta take care of those problems. We use a little different, a little better chemical than most companies use, because we are a smaller company, and we don't want you to call us back because you have a problem. And probably the difference between us and those big companies is they have 502 trucks that are all over the place, and it's easy for them to get a truck just to pop by, and they're banking on you not calling them back. We do provide an outside service that's quarterly. It's my understanding that none of the other companies that even bid on it do an outside service at all. They do all IPN, which is integrated pest management. They'll come in and put some glue stations down, may or may not use some chemical and go. I think in our quote, we quoted to do inside IPM, use the stations, as well as do a treatment on the outbuildings. For the school system, it was monthly, and we're gonna do an outside full monthly every 3 months. So it would be an outside coverage of each building and outbuilding every 3 months, so. But like I said, it's a partnership. That's what we do with all of our commercial buildings, our schools. We do several schools in Rutherford County. We have several different accounts, government accounts, inside Rutherford County, and we've been very successful in eliminating the brown recluse and things like that. The key to brown recluse is not a brown recluse treatment. The key to brown recluse is good monthly or quarterly pest control. You don't kill a brown recluse, you kill its food source. You get rid of its food source and you take care of it and you stay on top of it. That's what takes care of your pest. Neglecting it, having a tech that comes out and may spray or may not spray, may show up or may not show up, that doesn't work, and that's what causes the problems. If you have a tech that's scared to tell somebody that a teacher's got food in their drawer or on the ground, that's what's gonna cause a problem. And that's where we try to build our partnerships, and we have to have somebody to talk to and say, hey, you know, the cafeteria is not keeping it clean. You know, you got Jim Jones over here who's got honey buns in a box underneath his drawer. We handle several restaurants, and we've been very successful with our restaurants. I always tell them up front, you know, if you're not willing to partnership with us, you're wasting our time and we're wasting your money.
Yeah.
It has to be a communication between somebody there, or you won't take care of the problem. Our first and foremost, we're out to take care of the students and the faculty, and that's what we want to do. We are 100% locally owned and operated company. We don't operate in other states or other large cities, so all of our money stays here. We have several employees that live in Cannon County, several in Rutherford County. Our main area is Rutherford and Cannon County.
Are you based here in Cannon County?
We're actually based just inside of Murfreesboro, right
Oh,
behind
okay.
college. So we have numerous customers here. I know when I toured the sheriff's office, I actually talked to several people there, and one of the things the guy told me was, he said, how long will it take to do this job? And I said, well, initially, it take about an hour and 15 minutes to get somebody in here each time. Once we get it down, our tech should be in here about 45 to 50 minutes. And he said, well, we're not getting what we're paying for. This guy's in here 10 minutes and he's in and out. Granted, they were getting what they're paying for because that was an extremely, I mean, I don't know if you guys know what the sheriff's office was paying, but most companies can't afford to send somebody there for what they were paying for that. So, and that's what you get when you're getting that service. I mean, $28 a month to do a building that size is, I mean, that doesn't pay, I mean, we can't pay somebody to do that. So sure, they were getting what they were paying for. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, if they're spraying water or not spraying any chemical at all, and they're just sending a guy over there, sure. But if you're gonna do it right, you know, and we try to stay competitive. It's really hard to stay competitive in this business because of companies like Cooks and Terminix and Orkin, all these big companies that, you know, they can afford it because they've got 4,000 trucks everywhere, so. But first and foremost, we're here for the community and the people, and we care about the community and the people. Any other questions?
Are you Mr. Mathis?
I'm sorry?
Are you Mr. Mathis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming and
Yeah,
talking
thank
to us.
you.
I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Any more questions or discussions on
So,
that?
Melanie, what do you think? About our pest control? You
I
feel
mean-
like it's adequately maintained, or it could be improved?
I mean,
or-
I'm gonna say the same thing the sheriff's office does. When you got them coming in for 10 minutes and not doing anything, Mr. Nichols is shaking his head, then you've got a problem. I mean, when they come in, they need to come in and actually do their job.
And we've had cooks in the past.
Yeah, we've had Cooks for, I don't know,
They
what,
come in my
3 or
office.
4
And they're
years.
just there a minute,
I'm
but
gonna
they
tell
are
you,
not
I'm
home
just
and they
gonna
do
say, they come in my office, I mean, I have bugs back there because of the moisture and whatever, big roaches, and he never asks me, he comes in, he looks behind my door, he puts a sticky trap down, and he leaves.
That's what I was gonna say. He's really good about
I believe
changing the
that.
sticky trap
And there's big
and
roaches on my
maybe
sticky
or may
trap
not
every day.
spray.
And does he pick up your honey bugs?
Possibly, I've been missing a few, so.
The roach is carried along.
The only thing with all time is I looked on that last page, the bed bugs, fleas, brown recluse spiders, termites, and mosquitoes are not included in the general pest bid. So that's the only
Well,
thing.
When did Cooks put brown recluse in theirs? Because before, they told us that wasn't in their bid, and we paid them thousands last year to do that.
You know, we paid that extra, we paid that extra for them to
So,
come
I
in.
don't know when they put that in there, but it wasn't, cause I know for a fact that I had to hire them to come and do all that brown recluse. And I even had to go back during spring break and open the door, because we
Right.
started having them back tremendously, and I called them and said, no way, we did not pay y'all this many thousand for us to already be getting these spiders back. And then he come in and he only was gonna do a certain area, and I said, no, sir, you're not. If I've had to come in during my time off, you're doing the locker rooms, and you're doing it all. And he did, I stayed.
I will agree with that gentleman though, you're not gonna get rid of brown recluse by just doing a little spray.
No,
You
you're
gotta
not.
get rid of the clutter, you gotta get rid of the
That's
food
right.
sources.
Brown recluse is on page.
That's
Will they
right.
get them with the traps?
Which I don't care.
Will they get them with those sticky traps?
No, that's what I started to say, you're not gonna,
I did
If
too.
if you read up on bed bugs, you're not
No,
going
you're
to
gonna-
spray for bed bugs to keep them away. What you have to do is when you find one, you have to call them in and let them come in and do an inspection.
You pay for what you get. You pay for what you get. I think that's the theme for tonight, talking about
Pay for what you get.
maintenance.
You're $396
And
more a
going
year
forward. Yeah.
for all
Which is not-
exterminating.
The kids are worth it.
And all you can do is if they don't hold up to what they're promising, they gone next year. Tay-Tay in the wind, people, Tay-Tay in the wind.
And it's for a year.
Well, and it says if pest problem persists after monthly treatment is complete, all time exterminated will return and retreat at no cost to
Yeah,
customer.
I read that too.
And I mean, that's, to me, that's, a good service.
That's right, it is.
And I just feel like that Melanie will call them when she sees a bug.
And probably wear heels.
All right, we will move on if there's no other discussion on that. Item number 13 is an update from Reliant Realty, Stephen Russell, our agent regarding the former Short Mountain Elementary School property.
And Mr. Russell is still on board, so
Hanging on.
hanging on there. So Stephen.
Good evening, everyone.
There you go.
All right, so the buyers have completed their inspections for 5988 Short Mountain Road, and they're requesting a $100,000 price reduction due to their findings. Their main concerns are the age and condition of the roof and the cost of asbestos removal, potential cost through their renovation. And I'm told by their agent that they are firm at $700,000. And as of right now, there's no other offers and no other interest on the property. And with current market conditions, my recommendation is to accept the $700,000. What are your thoughts?
You said, so it would be 700, so it would really be 150,000 less?
We were at 800,000. I almost had to pull that contract back up.
Yeah, you're right.
You're right.
Sorry. So there's 700,000 firm and there's no more questions? No more?
Yeah, so they did come back at, they wanted 150,000 off. They were at 650. And, I just let them know that I needed their final number, and, so they came up to, 700.
Did they come look at this place before they agreed to buy it?
Their agent, I believe their agent went and looked at the property for them, was my thought. What I was told.
Melanie Mack can answer that. Melanie, who took the property?
I wasn't with the agent, and I don't think that they did come and look at it because I actually had a FaceTime of them walking through the building.
Yeah, I know she wasn't able to meet with them on that day that they wanted to do their inspection. Yeah, I don't know. I do know that they were wanting to buy a school, that they were very interested in that. I do think they were a little overwhelmed with their inspections.
So they did come down, was it 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Actually finally looked at it in person. So
Right, that was the only time that they came in person.
And then they come 2 weeks ago in person and looked at it.
That's correct.
That was the first time that they actually come in person.
So they
That is
come in
correct.
person and looked at it and said, now we want this much off of it.
Apparently, that's right, after they come and stay, I let them in like on a Thursday, then they wanted to go back on a Friday, and I actually happened to be going back up to make sure we had locked up and did everything, and they were up there again, and then they had actually went back on Saturday again, so I'm assuming after 3 days, they kept finding stuff that they were, looking at. I knew the roof was a problem, cause she did contact me and they talked about the roof because they had a picture of a bubble up on the roof, and I said, well, it's not leaking because the roof is definitely, it's raining and it's not. But they were still concerned that there's something under there making it bubble up, and it really is a huge bubble, up there, so I said, I just wouldn't touch it, but they were concerned about that, they were concerned about well, if it's not leaking, don't touch it. Then they were concerned about the asbestos, and then, there's a pipe,
Was this stuff not
No, it's not.
disclosed, the age of the roof, all this, is disclosed?
I don't know what they disclosed on that, no.
No, that was not disclosed. Because, I mean, we don't actually know the age of the roof. I mean, and you know, when you don't live at a property, you don't have to disclose. You're exempt.
If we had to relist it, what would we want to relist it at? What was your suggestion before?
We was gonna lower the price to $850. That's what we were gonna do, right before we got that offer.
It's always a little lower too.
And your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't mind relisting it. I don't mind, going back to work. I just, like I said, the calls, I mean, of course, you know, we're in Christmas, we're in holiday season. The calls have stopped, the emails have stopped. And I'm not saying that they won't pick back up next, you know, in January. It's, you know, it's just something y'all have to look at if y'all are willing to accept that 700,000. We could be right back here in a month or two with these same figures. So it's just a roll of the dice.
Okay. You guys have any more questions for him? Anything? Wade, you have anything? Okay. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Russell.
No problem. Will this be voted on this week?
Yes, sir, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow at 6. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a good night.
Item number 14 is an additional ESL teacher needed for Canyon County Schools. Mr. Curtis?
We have, our person who helps with ESL, that's Ms. Kathy Mullins, part of federal programs. We are looking at an increase in the number of ESL students, and she will tell you about that, so.
Correct. So as I mentioned it last year when we were doing budgets, that this is something that's forthcoming. Of course, our number of ELL students just keep increasing. Right before Thanksgiving, we had 1 student come, and then right after Thanksgiving, we had 3. So just the past couple of weeks, we've had 4 ELL students. What happens with those? Most of those have to have direct service of 1 hour. So we currently have 1 ESL teacher who serves all of our schools within our district. So when you go and do the math, it's not working out. So by the time you do travel and that sort of thing. Of course, some students can be grouped together based on grade level, but not only based on grade level, but based on what language acquisition skills they already have in place, or if they have any in place. Just due to our increase of students, English language learners, we are needing an additional teacher. Ideally, it would be posted this week, and they'll be able to start the 2nd semester. That being said, it is a GP budget item, and this is a federal guideline. Let me back up a little bit. It's a federal guideline, but federal rule, not a guideline, but a rule that we must follow. When we get monitored or compliance checked, that is one thing that they do check, and that you can receive a finding then if we're not following it. Questions? Currently, we have 19 students that are direct serve, and then we have 7 that are transitional. So once they exit out of ESL services, the teacher still has to monitor them for additional years. Check in with the teacher. How are their grades going? Do they need to come back in and receive more services if things are not as they should be? So currently, 26 students that are being served by our ESL teacher. 1 teacher, all schools, with the exception of Kenny North. Kenny North right now does not have any.
So 1 teacher in the whole county?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all you need. It's gotta come from GP.
It's
gotta
from
be,
GP,
okay.
yes.
I just wanna make sure I was right. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Ms. Lane. All right, no other questions? We'll be moving on to item number 15, which is the consideration of the director's annual evaluation. Mr. Curtis.
Chairman, I put in there what we have done previously in previous years on the evaluation of the director. We do this in the 31st day of December, and so every year it goes into, and then Teresa Lewis then tabulates that, and then is shared by June. So, this is what we've done in the past, what boards have done in the past, have utilized the TSBA document. And utilizing the TSBA document, we have to determine on the director's evaluation contract, on section, they have two sections. The qualitative section has appendix A, the administrator surveys, we've done in previous years 50%. Appendix B is the board observational data, and that's in section 1. And section 2 is more quantitative, and that's the achievement of board goals and strategic plans, that is 25%. So I would suggest on the director's evaluation that in the motion that you would put the percentages in there if you're going to continue to utilize the TSBA evaluative tool that we've used in the past. So you would put those percentages in there, and then once that's done, then we'll get that to each of you, and then we'll sit there and we'll tabulate that. And Teresa can do that. I don't touch that. Teresa does that as an independent party in scoring that, and then that's scored and then shared with the board at that point.
So we can use this current one that we've used the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Or you can just say, we'll do another one, do a complete different kind of evaluation tool, as long as it's fair and it bases upon the director's actual duties.
Okay.
And so there's some other tools, but this is the one that we have used in all my evaluations in the past is the TSBA tool.
Any questions or comments about that?
So do we, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying TSBA.
One's good, cause we know it follows the law and follows.
So do we each fill this out?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, and
We do
it's
it
tabulated.
individually. We don't ever see each other's,
Okay.
and we give it to Miss Teresa. She's the only one that has all of them, access to all of them.
Mail, handle it, or email back to her, which is the best.
Well, once you first, you vote on it, and then once you do it, then we'll get a sealed envelope to you, and then you can bring it right into that envelope and bring that back to her. It's what we've done before. It's in a bigger manila envelope type thing. It's not in a little thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty big form, whatever the pages are there. So then you take that and then you give that to Teresa, and then her job is to tabulate that. In the past, it was Douglas Jennings, and then when the 81 Act occurred, then it fell to Teresa to do for that.
Alright. Item number 17 is the discussion and possible action regarding,
Okay, number 16.
oh, I'm so
Okay.
sorry, that's on me. I'm so sorry, I skipped number 16. Discussion of Mr. Curtis's announcement at the beginning of this workshop. I don't know if there's anything that anybody would like to add, or discuss what this, going on in my brain right now, what this does is, we have got to begin our search for a new director. And I believe that needs to start much sooner than any time later in the spring. I think that it needs to start with some action at our January meeting, actually putting things in process. That's my thought process, because we do not need to postpone this. I think some decisions in recent years, need to have a little bit more thought process. And our teachers have asked for us to make sure they know things, so we need to have this director, in my opinion, in place. So our staff and our teachers and our kids know who the next leader will be. Not on June the 31st. I think it needs to be, this person needs to be in place and ready to work alongside Mr. Curtis maybe a bit and see what's going on.
So,
A couple months, then, new person
I think
follow.
Yeah, I would suggest a minimum of a month, 1 month, but the quicker the better. Because there's a lot in this position that goes into it and in the middle of transitions and strategic plans, that, that person would need to be updated fully upon, and it'd probably take me a month and a half. If, 2 months would be great, but a month, at least a minimum of 1 month.
Can we amend the agenda for tomorrow night to go ahead and add that, because we can go ahead and get it going?
We
To
can.
put out the job, do we even have to vote on that?
Do we have to vote to post it? I don't know if we have to vote, we have to vote to post it.
Well, you have to vote to what is the process. You would probably have to vote on what the process is going to be. And I know just in previous boards, and some older folks that are in the room right now can probably tell you about the other searches that have occurred in the past. I'm looking over in the corner is where I'm looking at, but.
We knew where you were looking.
2 of them aren't.
But I'm saying other previous boards, previous boards.
Old folks over there in the corner.
More mature,
They're
more
same age
mature.
as I am.
Been here longer than the director has, and he's been here 37 years. But
I always look to Miss Bonnie for guidance and wisdom.
previous boards have done it, with searches. TSBA offers a search deal. TOS offers a search thing that the organizations, good superintendents offer.
I think you
We'll
paid
post
for
that.
one. Yeah, you
And
paid
then we
big
talked
time,
to
Okay,
10,000.
for both of you. pay
Right, and you
And
pay
then
for
talk to
that.
other
You-
districts and see their process as to how they, do they go through TSBA, do they do it, themselves, or that's just my suggestion.
I think we need
Research
to,
that they amend
I
tomorrow.
think that we need to, do some digging. I agree with you. I've already looked into a couple of school districts and how they have done recent searches. It's not just, they gather, the applicants and then pick from them. They go through, lost my wording. They eliminate and kind of whittle down. I think that that's great. I think that we need to do that.
Last time we did
What else?
it, when I was interviewed, there was a committee process and you had a number of groups and it was narrowed down to a number. And then you go from a phone interview to oral interviews, and doing it that way. That's my own experience. Now, other ways, there's some boards that say, let's put it to a vote and just do it, and, here's who you vote on. There's other times in our past history in which you did the search with TSBA on a limited thing. I think they have the high, medium, and low offers from TSBA. You'd have to ask Ben about that, on what TSB would offer. So there's been multiple ways of doing it.
So for us to post it, we have to say exactly how we're gonna fulfill the job.
I think we need to discuss that tomorrow, maybe amend that item. So we get it going.
How would you amend that?
You mean,
On number
you mean
17?
revise the agenda?
Yeah, revise it.
Yep, 16.
16.
Just us
Can you
discussing
put 17 or 16A?
how we want to go forward with it.
And you can make motions long as it, and I'll speak as a parliamentarian here, you can make motions toward anything in regarding the director's special announcement. And my
We
special
can make
announcement
any
was my
motion.
retirement,
We
so
may
you
not
can
have
make,
to.
you can make any motion you'd like to in regard to my special announcement, which was my retirement effective July 1.
Mr. Curtis, ask a question, do they have to put in the specifics of what the search looks like? Or do they just have to vote to post it? Because I almost think there might have been a special workshop before you were hired, that they decided how they were gonna do it.
Yeah, they did, that's what they did, but in previous, when I was an interim director, that's what they did. They had a special workshop and then decided which way they were gonna go with it, and then after that, they went with it.
Posted and what the job description was, but not necessarily the process of how you were gonna select it.
Right.
Well, I
It's
think
not like
all
you
that
have to
was,
do that.
I think all that was decided, a committee was put together, a survey was given out to teachers in the community to answer what they thought were the most important attributes. Then all that was collected, then applications were accepted and, as you said, narrowed down. And then the committee invited in the top selection. Mr. Curtis is accurate in that, best that I can believe, to do phone interviews. That was only because we had several people that were gonna have to travel a great distance, and that was more just a screening. And then after that screening, then several were invited back for in-person, interviews before the board and the community.
But was all of that through
The
the
committee.
posting?
Yes, they are the procedures and what was going to be done were all decided before the posting, so that they would know where they were going. I think the board had looked at several different school districts and said, okay, and even you can look at TSBA, they'll give you, there's some free things out there, and they can give you some no-cost guidance on there, but if you ask them to be involved in the search, then they'll ask for
Compensation.
finder's fee.
I just don't feel like we have enough time between now and tomorrow night to individually figure this out,
I
in my
know,
opinion.
I agree with you. I know that we already have the budget, tomorrow night. I know that budget sessions are about to be set tomorrow night for the beginning of the year. But I think that we do need, to do some individual investigation. I think we need to look into some other districts, many more, not just a couple ideas. We need to look in how it's done, maybe look into what we can find that TSBA offers. But I would like to know how many districts in recent years has used them, or have they gone with their own process?
You
Cause
can
it's
look
about
on
our
TSBA right now and see how many that they're involved in. They post them on their
Right.
website.
4.
For
We get the emails.
They cut it off.
Yeah.
That
But
was
I
the
think that
job.
we could do that, and we could look at a special call workshop, maybe the 1st of January, sometime where we could really, dig into this and look into
Well,
how.
I mean,
we
I'd like to
move
have the process set out before we just, you know,
this. Throw it in,
yeah,
Yeah.
and then be like, well, we've got all these resumes, what are we gonna do now?
yeah.
Kind of deal, like, list, do this, do this, do this.
And come up with our own timeline, of kind of how we want it to go. All right. Y'all wanna look at some optional dates on that, or do y'all want to look at those tomorrow night?
So tomorrow after we do some more research,
Okay. All right,
that way we can get more of an idea.
okay. Any more discussion or comments from anybody?
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yep.
It's been my honor and privilege to serve at your pleasure, at the board's pleasure. I do realize, and I'll say a little bit something tomorrow night, I do realize that it's not great timing, but at least I give you 6 months, in advance, that you've got time to select the next person that occupies this office. It's been my pleasure to serve, and yet, in doing that, it's hard to believe it's 5 years now. It'll be 5 years in March, 5 years December 1 is interim, and then after interim, March 29th is when I was selected to be director of 2018, excuse me. So when I think, man, it's been 5 years, it's just, lots happened in those 5 years, I'll put it that way. Probably a little more gray hair on my head in that 5 years that I've been director, but it's been my honor to serve, and I'll help in any way I can in this process. And I think that this board knows how hard I've worked, and I'll continue to work all the way up to June the 30th, and then work with whoever the board picks as in a transitional type of period. So I will promise this board I will help to do that any way I can, and even afterwards in helping anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Item number 17 is a discussion and possible action regarding live streaming, recording at remote locations, Canyon County Board of Education workshops. This was placed on the agenda right after last month's meeting. I talked to Mr. Curtis and Mr. Medford both concerning this. Some issues with our last, when we chose to always live stream and record these workshops. That posed some issues with the previous decision of moving around to different community schools. Because when we do that, the equipment is not there. So there were some things posed. We were either gonna have to buy equipment for each location, then that poses that it's there. Mr. Medford is not at all those locations to monitor that equipment. That also is asking, Mr. Medford to try to take stuff if we didn't buy it and put it there to somehow, have these live streamed. It was gonna be a lot of problems here. So that's up for discussion tonight. Does anybody have any thoughts moving forward with the, issue at hand?
If I could, Madam Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If you look, that little camera over there, right underneath, there's a camera right there with 3 lenses is what it is. So Michael may want to talk about the technicality of that. The county uses this room as their committee rooms when committee meets. So I got with County Executive Mitchell and we talked about it, and we said, well, let's just go and in a partnership, and they bought the camera, and then we bought the speaker. There's a speaker right up there above us. There's also a box above that in Mr. Medford's technological terms can probably classify it a little bit more than I, because that's an IP-based speaker. We've never had one of those before, but seems to be working good. So Michael, you want to talk about, and I sent you a copy of how much it would cost to fit the other places, the other locations to do this with. So Michael, you want to say anything there?
Well, the problem with, the other locations is there is no equipment there. So, hearing you is a problem. Mr. Curtis came with the county executive, and basically what this is it's a Audix microphone, and it goes to a DN4 box. Layman terms, it's a microphone, but it doesn't connect back to this computer. It connects to a network switch. It's a more high-end microphone, so you're hearing me, they're hearing me now. They can hear this whole room. It's just a really good setup. So, to have good, and I'm not an audio guy, but, to have good clarity in the other places, you can't just put a little $40 web camera up on the computer and say, hey, we can hear you good, right? It's going to take expensive equipment, and this, unfortunately, is very expensive equipment. I don't know if you had the chance to look at the price of it, but it's very expensive. And if you wanted this same type of setup at the other schools, it's going to cost a lot of money. But I think I know Mr. Mitchell, he was excited about it. And I do think it works great. The camera is a 180-degree camera, so it is a more expensive camera. It's able to see this whole room, hence the reason why I came over here. But it just works really good. We're streaming right now to YouTube, so this is live. As soon as I hit stop streaming, it's going to be there for anybody to be able to see. And that's what Mr. Mitchell was wanting to see for his commissioner meetings. Mitchell.
That's correct.
So anyway, that's it. I'm not an audio guy, but that's it. It's up to the board. I'll do whatever you want me to. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. So.
I have no issues with us switching back to here in the locations, because like you said, we do have some other issues that need to be taken care of, more important, first. So it was all decided before we did the recording thing, so it was just on time.
And then you can still, utilize the schedule that you have with the elementary school, middle school. You can still do that, or you can revise. I just need to know how I need to go back and change the workshops on what y'all desire. Yeah, I'd like to know if you would like to change, and you have the schedule there, and I put it in red, on the ones that we need to look at on those locations. And so, The committee room, this is a nice room. In fact, you could probably move the tables, shift it just a little bit further back, and you could get 2 rows of seating instead of just the 1 row of seating. So you get additional ones, and Greg just says, but the room's just like he found it. And we like this arrangement for the other committees. And I don't know, Michael, if any other committees utilize the system yet. I know we've got a sheet on how to do that.
I talked to him this week, we're the first ones.
Okay, so
Now,
we're the trailblazers in this
Yeah,
room.
I did create a technical document for him, and I came up here this week and walked him through step by step with that technical document showing him how to do it for his meetings, so.
And we'll adopt an MOU because Michael and them are servicing, I think finance bought the TV, they bought the computer, but now the computer is run by us and we ran the lines, so, there was some expense there, but nothing huge. And doing this was just a win-win for us and the commission, and the county executive, and you can broadcast any kind of meeting you want to from here now, which is great.
We provide wireless also. While we was running the wires, we went ahead and put access points, so y'all.
So there's your access point of the schools, and there's the access point of the counties. I think ours looks better than the counties, but who's looking at?
The Wild West.
Yes, I like ours.
All right, any more questions or discussions? Mr. Medford, thank you. Thank you very much. Number 18 is policy review, and there is no policy. So we're gonna keep moving right along for this month of December. All right, item number 19 is the TSBA policy recommendation, which is policy 4.700 for testing programs. Mr. Curtis.
Madam Chairman, I don't believe any action is necessary on this policy. And the reason is, if you look there on that, what TSBA is suggesting, it says to include this provision. Everything else is exactly right that you approved back in July. So there's no change really needed. And the only thing is to include this provision if the board requires a test for the purposes of grade placement or awarding credit when a student transfers into the district from a Category 4 church-related school or a Category 5 private school or a home school. We have not tested ever any of those students coming in. We take it from where they're at the school, whether it's a church school or another type of Category 5 private school. We take it that they're on that particular grade level. Now, if we notice some problems, then we'll deal with that once we get them in that particular grade. So, Ms. Bonnie, you want to say something about that in regard to homeschool or Category 4?
If you change it, you'll have to hire a full-time homeschool coordinator. I mean, we will, and there's no reason to change it because they're in a school, and most of these that's your private schools, Category 4, church-related umbrella schools. They have their own grading system, they have their own curriculum. They always provide us with those grades when we request those, for the most part. And if they don't, then we have a system in place that we use. We only test independent homeschool students.
In
That's
grade 5 and 7.
Right, well, no, when they come back to us, we can test for placement, especially at the high school. If we have an independent homeschool student that's been independent for several years and there's no credits or anything that can be proven through a church-related accredited homeschool program, then we have to test for placement. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend it because their system's already in place.
And I would say, what I will do, board, if it's okay, I'll just put no action needed. And the CCBOE does not require a test for the purposes and give that whole section. That way it's in your minutes, you've looked at it, you've done the requirement from the TSBA recommendations, if that's okay.
And we move to do that.
Right. Does that, just say no action is needed, and because CCBOE does not require a test, and you put that in the minutes, and you're fine.
Thank you. Item number 20 is discussion concerning the strategic plan for 2022 through 2027. That sounds weird. Yeah, close to that, 2027. So the floor is open for
Really should be
discussion.
23 now.
It should be
It's-
23.
It'll be 2023
Yeah.
through 2028, actually,
Yeah.
is in your 5-year
Yeah.
plan, because you keep moving up.
Okay. So board members will open the floor for discussion concerning, the proposed strategic plan, I guess, the plan that we were given, the preliminary draft of the strategic plan that we were given, by the committee through Mr. Curtis at the budget advisory committee meeting last month. The floor is open for discussion.
So, what this is recommending essentially is that we move all 4th through 8th grade students in the county to what is now the elementary middle school.
That's the way I'm reading it.
And then, so, the K through 3 students that reside within the Woodbury zoning area would go out to north and south. So every K through 3 student in the county would either be at north or at south. And all the other kids would be, 4 through 8 would be there. So,
I personally don't agree with that, I'm sorry. And I know you have done a lot of work, but I just don't see the need to move more than what we have to. And I don't, the whole point of getting the middle school is to have 6 through 8.
well, I think our biggest problem is that building, Woodbury Grammar Middle School, that building has too many kids in it. I mean, I'm not saying from, a fire marshal standpoint or anything like that, but, I mean, a lot of, when I went over and spoke with some of the teachers, I mean, there's a lot of kids there.
And the addition will help with that, I agree, but I just don't see, I mean, y'all want to move again.
I'm not saying that's the answer, that's,
I mean,
the 4 through 8 thing, I'm not saying that's the answer, but I just really heard from a lot of teachers over there, like, we understand this is a transition year and, they're doing what they can, but I have more than one teacher tell me that if it stays like this next year, I can't do it.
well, I think next year you're gonna have more room for the addition. And I think it'll help, and as Ms. Black has stated, we're gonna do some rezoning again. I mean,
Plus, I think it's a nightmare to think about moving, we'll have to stagger times, because we're pushing
Right.
it the envelope now. And we would definitely have to stagger times if we start bringing those kids in and pushing those kids out. Because I don't have enough drivers.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm for the whole 4 through 8 thing, I'm just saying I feel like maybe that's not the answer, but something is gonna have to be done.
I take a lot of, and I told some of the teachers this at Canyon County Elementary, and I referenced some of the leaders that I've talked to in the county. And the cinder block, or the concrete walls that are going up even give me more hope. And here in August the 1st gives me a lot of hope. We went through a big transition last year, a real big one. Everybody did. Everybody in this county did. Those 8 classrooms are gonna be there. I don't know why we wouldn't spread out at Canyon County Elementary and everybody stays put for one more year to see what we can do. Have some stability for a year, have some calmness, and let those Canyon County Elementary teachers know that we're gonna spread out. We're gonna get you some room, we're gonna spread out. And we're gonna make some moves toward, continuing to give these kids what they need, in the right way, and the right times, in
Well,
my
and,
opinion.
I mean, I'm not a teacher, I've never been a teacher, but from what I've seen from some teacher friends, like, I see that it's a lot of work to pick up your classroom and move it.
Amen.
I mean, across the hall, you know, down the road, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a lot, in my opinion, to ask of a teacher, you know, to continually, a lot of teachers had to do that last year, and to tell them again, hey, you're gonna have to pick
Yeah,
up,
do it
move
again.
down the road again this year. I mean, and they do it on their own time, you know, a lot of them, so.
And we're going through another big transition of something we just found out, you know, how it was made known tonight.
Right.
So that's gonna be a transition, happening. And so I just think, I don't know, that was my, looking through this and spending a lot of time just thinking about it, praying about it. I don't know why we would cause upheaval again, knowing that we're gonna have to reallocate and move again, if that makes any sense.
No, I had teachers ask me the same thing, can we stay at least a year or something to give us time to see where everything's going, have more of a, like I said, give them more of a timeline.
So we'll have 8. So as far as those 8 classrooms go, are we just gonna say, y'all decide what you wanna do with them, or, I mean, do we have a plan for them, or?
I mean, I can have some plans.
Well, that's what I'm, you know.
And I think that's where we
I
kinda
think if we
stay
stay in elementary / middle school, that automatically goes to me, I guess, to me, it would go to the elementary school, cause they're squished, they're squished in. My 3 children are at the elementary school, so to me, you would give that to them. If we're staying in middle / elementary school, you would have to give that to the elementary school for growth.
I wanna ask though that my counselor gets out of the closet, out of the art
Yes.
room, because I have children that will not go to counseling because they're having to walk through a class that's in session.
Yes. Oh, that's horrible.
So, it can be the elementary, down in the elementary, but we can put 2 counselors in that room. I just request that. That's just, a major concern of mine.
Well, that needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And everyone's all in.
So we don't just Julie,
I have.
It's nobody's fault, it's just the way it is.
Have
Right.
intervention is shared in the classrooms, we have tutors that do not have homes, ESL.
Workroom. So while she's trying to do intervention with students, there's adults having to come in and use the restroom because it's a teacher workroom. Or, I mean, so she's in, that's not conducive to our most neediest of needy students to be in a
I
teacher
think the
workroom.
issues in that building right now is just not a lot of students. It's these issues, and that's where we need to spread out. We need to get it all, that kind of stuff taken care of.
I think rezoning.
And Stephanie?
Yeah.
I think rezoning.
Our tutoring classrooms, our tutoring classrooms are they have to go through the music classroom, and they're in these little supply closets, so music class is going on while we're trying to provide grade level supports to give those kids the boost they need to be, on track for grade level support. So it's just the same thing with RTI, same thing with special ed.
Every nook and cranny in that school is used, every bit of it. Concession stand is used, every place in that school is taken. There are people out in the hallway tutoring. I mean, you can see education live, cause it's everywhere, it's everywhere in the building.
But other schools are also, I know like in Miss Cossey's building, they are successfully using 1 classroom for 2 full-time interventionists and 2
But it's a
support
large
staff. It's a
classroom.
large classroom, and, you know, they've got it divided up, so we don't need individual classrooms per se for every one of those.
We need to
positions.
Also, we have gifted in speech in
teachers.
the same classroom, and we have both of our ESSER tutors in the same classroom, but we have petitions between them. So it's working, it's just the space thing, it's not so much that they're together, it's just that they're not on top of each other, so it can be done. And we had just been, and I'll just speak for myself, we had been hearing rumors as leaders that there was going to be some type of movement next year, because my request in the beginning was exactly what you just said.
I have teachers that have spent their entire summer getting a new home made in a classroom. And I spent the entire summer helping that happen. I didn't even go on vacation because I wanted my school to be the best it could be. That took a lot of energy and a lot of brain thought, and we are just starting to get settled, and for us to turn back around and upheave again.
To upheave again.
Yes,
Right,
but we were in on the suggestion because we felt like if there was gonna have to be a movement, we wanted some input in on that. So we felt like if there was going to have to be a movement, we felt like that was the best thing when we said fourth and fifth. I mean, we weren't the ones that, we were just all like having a discussion.
We were just
So
crunching numbers.
We were crunching numbers.
You do think no movement can work?
Absolutely. If,
I'm
you
looking
speak
at
for
it.
you because it will
No,
work
it
for
definitely
me.
felt like, we were worried, what were we worried about?
I think there was some
Well, we
concern
felt like
that we
there
still
wasn't
have
gonna be enough-
kindergartners in buildings sharing playgrounds and gymnasium
Correct.
with eighth graders, which was part of the issue that we wanted middle schools to have their own building, and since that had sort of been taken off the table, I think the conversation was, when you've still got 9 grades in hallways using common areas, that we thought that was part of the reason for movement.
So we were in on that discussion because it's not ideal. Everything at middle school and elementary is not ideal. We have made it work at ours. We're pretty full at ours right now, but they are very full. And so we were trying to see what we looked at numbers and figured out how we could make that work for fourth and fifth to go be at their own school in that building, and sixth, seventh, and eighth to be like their own area, and for us to do K-3 in our 2 schools. And we can make that work, but that's gonna be a lot of energy and a lot of movement right after we've just gotten settled from that again.
How many kids do you have at your school?
184 is what I've got.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm
And
over
what about you?
260.
How
And
much?
I'm not over there, that's not counting pre-K.
360?
That doesn't include
And
the
you've
pre-K.
got 184?
I'm over 200. She said that didn't count
Count my
pre-K.
pre-K, that doesn't count pre-K.
Okay. Does that count for
Mine
pre-K?
counts pre-K. Yeah,
Okay,
she's
so about
203 or something.
Okay, so Woodbury Grammar has how many?
Well, that's the number that we weren't really sure about.
We have 326. But that was,
I was advocating for Emily, there you are.
I'm here.
Okay. Speaking for, I'm speaking for myself, so you have something else you want to say, because we were all in on that conversation looking at numbers.
No, yes, I am totally in agreement with everything that everybody is saying. I think, listen, the thing about it is we just needed to have, when is the new edition going to be ready? Our goal is August 1. We're ready to move forward. Everybody can be happy and spread out more. We just needed to know that's the plan, and let's go forward with it, and we'll start making plans for that.
And it will give teachers relief to know.
Yes. Yes.
That was like our big takeaway. Please let the admin know and the teachers know as soon as possible, because we have people who are worried about the long term, and and we've gotta let them know early, so.
And I have like a classroom that we're using on the middle school hallway that I will be thrilled and happy to get down to my bottom hall, and that'll give middle school another room. Just I will be, and then that way we can all shift around and everything. So I think it's very doable. I just think are we gonna need to delay school starting by 2 weeks to get us in if August 1st is the first day of school? Like that kind of questions.
So as far as rezoning and numbers go, she's only at 203.
We can stretch her back out.
Can you take some of Woodbury Grammar and move her way?
I will tell you one thing that we ran into this year is board policy. I will say one thing we found with board policy this year is that any Cannon County school person can have their kids come to Cannon Elementary. And that's what made a lot of our numbers go up. It wasn't necessarily the zoning.
And I didn't realize this, that's substitute teachers, bus drivers, buses.
Substitute teachers.
Yes, I didn't realize that until she told me that.
Well, we didn't realize that many were gonna choose to go.
Well, if they have middle school kids, that's logistics for them. That's what they
Well,
do, that's
yeah.
why they've chosen that.
Right.
I knew that was where it was gonna go, I just didn't have any idea it would be that big of a number.
But we might have to be the bad guy and say, no, you have to stay where you're going regardless if you work there or not for a year. I mean,
Well, and you can also consider if you work in that building, then your children can go there, if you work in that building, not if you're, I mean, that's just a suggestion, that's.
Well, Karen just brought up, if you have a middle school student, logistically, you would want the elementary school
They
kid to
do.
go there too. That's a big,
Especially if they have a high schooler as well, then they don't wanna go to
3 different schools.
Cannon North,
Well, and
Cannon
especially
Middle,
if you
and
live
then
in
Cannon
Short
High School.
Mountain and have to go all the way to Woodland and then come here and
It's hard.
it is hard.
And one of the things we talked about too, when we were talking about the whole 4th, 5th grade and K3, is ultimately we feel like the board's part is to get us to 3 schools. So if that's gonna make that transition easier to get to that, not this year necessarily, but at some point, and then building elementary school is cheaper than building a middle school or a high school.
Do what now?
Building an elementary school is cheaper than building
No,
a middle
ma'am.
school.
No
Is it
way.
not?
About twice as high. How do you figure that?
That was-
We have less middle school students than we have elementary schools. That's,
Well, I think it becomes like facilities and those kinds of things, when you
No,
build
ma'am.
a middle school and facilities and that kind of
I
stuff.
disagree with you, Karen, but no.
Okay.
Elementary school will cost us twice as much.
Okay, that's fair. That's just the discussion, I'm telling you, the discussion that
That
we
was the
had,
discussion we had.
that's just the discussion that we had.
Is that because of numbers or the
Size of
facility
the class,
itself?
class of the building.
Okay.
And then all
And that was not information that we were given.
Bathrooms and younger.
I haven't said much, so let me get my,
I've been waiting
I
on
know,
you,
I'm
Wade.
a little concerned, I'll be honest.
I was asleep.
Yeah.
Karen hit, she hit a prime note. To be physically responsible, as this board can possibly be, and any board in the future can possibly be. Let me, before I say my statement, let me preface that is, a previous board in this county decided one day that we wasn't gonna have 52 schools in our county any longer. 52 schools was in this county before 1960. So somebody stopped one day and go, wait a minute, we gotta get to 6 schools. So they were being as physically responsible as they could be at that time. And everybody pushed back and squalled and screamed and Gazaway ain't got over it yet. So, having said that, 3 schools is the physically responsible thing that we can do that nobody on the commission, nobody living in this community cannot say that now you have done all you can do physically, to have 3 buildings to take care of. That the middle school would have their own identity, their own curriculum fits into that building. You drive up in front of it, you look up and you go, that's the middle school. Not a mailbox sitting out on Annie Cox, where everybody made fun of, that we didn't have a middle school that's inside of another building. Technically, they're right, we're getting by. This is a get by process till we get to where we need to get. I don't know why everybody's having such a hard time figuring that out, but just, we're gonna have to suck it up till we get to 3 schools, and we gotta figure out how we're gonna do that. And I can tell you right now, we can't afford to build a middle school. Not alone an elementary school, we can't build a middle school right now. So what are we gonna do? We either use what we got and make it better, or we're in limbo right here. So you better work on your county commissioners. We have very little income stream for our county, for anybody, for anything. And schools have always taken second fiddle, as you well know, by the percentage of money we get from the county. And probably they're doing the best they can do, I don't know. That's an argument that we could all have with everybody in the commission at some time. But right now, we cannot afford that, so we probably need to take a close look at what's left. East side, I believe, I talked to Senator Reeves Friday night, talked to Representative Hale Friday night, and they assured me that they're gonna push that to the limit till we get that done. I think TCAT's gonna do that, they're gonna take it. It's just advantageous for this, no-brainer for them, they don't have to build a building. And they want it, and the governor's done said they're gonna have to expand, so that's coming. That leaves you 2 schools to look at, one with 15 acres and one with about 8. And Woodland right now, me and Manny had a little talk, I think if I'm correct, 18 classrooms is what it takes to get you a middle school. Academic classes. That's not everything you need in the building, I'm saying 18 classes. So then you have to look at the 2 schools and what can do that with the least amount of money at this time to get 3 schools in place and then work on fine tuning those 3 schools. Like Mr. Courtney said a while ago, that we're gonna have a high school, it's sitting there. That's the most expensive school you can build. Second would normally be a middle school in Rutherford because they put 1,200 in theirs. And they put about 1,500 in their middle school, about 1,200 in elementary. And they buy 22 acres of land when they build a school. So right now, we can't go out and buy 15 acres of land in this county. Finding it and paying for it, number one. So I'm just putting this out on the table for everybody to think about. I think it would be very advantageous to use what we've got. I'm not gonna argue one way or the other. I think I clocked it one day, Woodland's 8 miles from town to the center of town, and actually from the Woodbury Grammar's parking lot, and west side's about 5.5. But Woodland has right now enough classrooms that you could put the middle school in there tomorrow.
You're gonna have people from the whole other side of the county go all the way to the other side, which is not fair for bus routes,
It's not
for them
fair.
to be on the bus.
I'm just telling you, that's all, if you can't, I'm just telling you, Rebecca, if you can't build a school, if we can't we can't spend $45 million to build a school.
It's not us, it's the taxpayers.
Well, I can tell you right now that the county commission that is actually trying and probably going to take the $50 away from us on the wheel tax, unless something changes. So then we have even less revenue stream, so I don't know how you can pay for it.
It's like a broken record, it's like a broken record.
Yeah.
It is constantly, this ain't us paying for something, okay? This isn't about what, at the end of the day, you know that I love teachers, I am a teacher, it's not about the teachers. We're giving bare minimum.
Yep.
It's gonna hurt my pocketbook, so I don't wanna pay one more, I don't even wanna pay a half cent more in taxes, bare minimum for kids who deserve more.
Exactly.
And it makes me sick to my stomach.
I know the 2 taxes we have, the wheel tax is the most fair, and that's the one they want to take away. Everybody's got 2 or 3 cars, there's fewer homeowners that own property than there are cars out there that can be taxed. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, to the citizens of the county decide that they want more for our kids, this is where we are. So somebody's gonna have to go sell somebody something.
And I'm not telling you, I wanna make sure you understand this, I'm not telling you that I think you're completely wrong. I understand what you were saying, okay? But I believe if we move in that direction, we are having these kids revert back. And
By moving the middle school to Woodland, is that what you're saying? And then having all the elements,
I think the promise of
essentially
having
3 buildings, I mean.
3 buildings.
It's 3 buildings, but they don't have the new CTE type stuff. They don't have a gym. They don't have.
Well, it has to be built, you can build a gym.
You could build that.
I mean, and
But
that
you're talking
cheaper.
about building that, why can't we think a little bit, I don't know, is it, I mean, are we throwing in our towel?
No, I'd like to buy some land and build a middle school. But I'm just saying, the reality is, how are we gonna do that, y'all? I'm open for any suggestion.
Not us.
Well, how's the taxpayers, when's the taxpayers gonna decide to do it, and how are we gonna
When it
convince them?
says your estimate is $30 million.
Well,
Let's
that's
just
the
start
old
with-
estimate.
That was a pre-COVID
Yes.
estimate of
There's
30
nowhere
million to
near, you
build
couldn't do that today.
an elementary school holding, 1,000 students or thereabouts. And so that would have to be adjusted certainly.
Well, not even pre-COVID, that was pre-Biden estimates. I was I'm sorry, that was pre-Biden all the way.
I was trying to be a little.
Well, I'll just throw that on YouTube and everywhere, I don't care.
I'm glad he lightened everything.
I mean, I would love to have 30 billion or 50 million or whatever and build a school, but, I mean, I'm, kinda like Wade, like, we gotta see what we got and work with what we got.
This doesn't mean that sometime down the road, the county figures out the citizens do that, they want more for their kids. Right now, they're not acting like they want more for their kids. They voted down $90, which nobody probably remembers, but actually came before the board and told them that was a mistake to go and put that on the ballot. Because number one, they didn't give enough information out about why you want 90, and when 50 would do it, and it failed, and now everybody's using that as the mantra that they don't want a middle school. They don't want to build a middle school. So I can't change the minds of the people, but we have got to do what we've got to do with, despite the people.
So if you were gonna put a middle school in an existing building, why would you choose Woodland over Westside? Just curious.
I think the 15 acres is so advantageous that we could never
So
buy that.
Woodland has a 15 acre.
Do they have 15?
Can you build on it?
Can we build on it?
Cause it's.
We could build it, we could actually.
The sewer and stuff's what I'm talking
Well,
about.
I mean,
That's going to be redone.
it'd have to be done, there's things that have to, we can't just move in there and say, no, it's over with, we would have to spend some money. We're gonna do that no matter what.
I think it needs to be more of a central location, like again, people all the way here on the west side, almost Rutherford County, going all the way to the other, that's a long haul for kids.
And either way, if you put it in west side or east side or Woodland, you're still putting in an old building. You are still in a 1956 building.
That's it, you are.
That is full of asbestos.
You're not gonna have a new building till you build a new
Lead
building.
pipes and
How are we gonna convince the public to convince our commissioners to let us spend $50 million and then pay for it? How are we gonna pay for it?
Well, your wheel tax is going to expire by 2026. 2025 is a definite. That's going to expire. Now, what you do in the next cycle, that's part of the strategic plan on where you want to put it. So first off, you're gonna have to say, is there land in a centralized location somewhere within our, would be, because of the sewer situation, Woodland sewer right now is maxed out to the point where your pumps are, if a pump goes out, we know it immediately at the Cannon South location, correct, Angela? If the pump goes out, we know it. Not just cause the alarm, because it's not flushing.
that's just another thing that needs to be added onto the facility report. Is you're gonna have to, if you plan to keep that school open 5 more years, if we stayed right here for 5 more years, that whole school needs all new field lines.
And Cannon North has the similar situation. We're not having as much trouble with the sewer situation, but you're going to be limited on your.
Students there is when you not have the.
That's correct, because you don't have that amount of students there that is, but now all that water's being pumped up the hill and distributed throughout those areas where now utilized as athletic fields. So there's your dilemma there. So the key is trying to find something centralized for sewer in the city limits or near the city limits of Woodbury.
Well, that was my next question. Purchase land, what land? Where?
It's
Where?
not, it's not there.
I mean,
10 acres
I'm
behind
just
Davenport,
asking, like,
just so.
did you have a thought?
There is, I
in
know
this
where land
plan,
is,
like-
but I don't know if it would
I've
ever
got two
work.
community members come talk to me about land.
There's
Not
some
wanting to sell you
behind
land?
Houston Hills,
What?
but I don't know.
Wanting to say, hey, we've got this land?
People just saying, what about this? What about, have you thought about talking to these people?
Okay.
The land behind Houston Hills, I don't know how many got on it for sale, but it would be,
And it could be
I've looked at it on the map
attached
and
to
it
road
would
from
be,
the high school.
idea.
Road from the high school could
Yeah,
be
you could
extended
cut a
and go
road.
into that area right there.
Up in
And-
Houston Hills?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
on the
it's
land map.
actually the entrance right now that's for sale is right past Save a Lot on the left.
Can go into that.
Right off
You can-
53.
And it goes up right behind Houston Hills.
Ties right into 53.
Yeah.
But it literally touches the end where you took
I
turn
know, I've
left
looked
at
at it.
Houston
I know
Hills,
what
you
you're
go
doing.
straight ahead into
where
that.
it goes.
road.
How much is it?
I don't know, I don't know.
How much you got?
It probably,
Flash you right now.
since it's county too, the price probably just shot up.
I was fixing to say, yes, you're just having the same thing we got into.
But the other thing
Over
is,
How much rocks in
who
there?
knows if it would even hurt
It won't
for our
hurt.
school. There's a reason it ain't sold
Well,
yet.
that's why you tie into the city sewer, get annexed.
There ain't no city sewer.
I know, but you get annexed into the city, but your city.
It won't
sewer.
hurt, Mr. Curtis, that's how you get it.
All right.
I say that this
But I mean, I'm just saying.
Hold on. Miss Rebecca?
I say this coming year, we leave things as it is. We don't move anybody. Cause right now, as Miss Melody's given us this wonderful news, we have a lot of things to have to work out and fix before we move on with anything else. We need to make sure, cause there's still those issues at Woodbury Grammar, roof, everything, gym, we need everything going at that school, we need everything going at the high school before we move on. And that gives teachers, faculty, everybody the kind of relief that they know next year they do have some time.
I just don't think I'd have it in my heart to ask them to move again. I just.
Oh, no, but I think,
I think rezoning, and, the chairman's asked me, when am I chiming to call in? I think with Emily's on right now, she is at her max, and her rooms are at her max. Even if we utilize the 8 rooms, I still think there's need to be some rezoning of those students. If you're gonna stay 5, there needs to be some rezoning, and then board policy may be looked at again about employees, students going to, and that was written, by the way, if you want some history there, that, the historian's coming out in me, but that was done because people were going here, there, and could you go here, could you go there? And they said, no, if you are a county employee and you work for central office, or you're going to go to County Elementary, that's what that
We
was.
had
put in.
room back then.
And you did have
We
one
had the
back
new
then.
building.
well, I give them this. These substitute teachers dug deeper than I seen it on that, and I looked at that policy multiple times before we voted on it, and I didn't see nowhere on bus drivers or substitute teachers could do that. Cause that was new to me up to about 2 months ago. I
Even
didn't know
bus
that as well.
aides, you know, like the aides that are on the bus, even their children, you know, anybody.
So rezoning, I think if you're going to keep it, rezoning, and looking at those where the zones are at. North can handle additional students, we know that. I was there for, 22 years, so understand, North can hold. We used to hold 325, but that was max with several portables on the property too, when I was there. I don't know how many portables, we had a bunch that, but
They were all the way out to 8 acres.
yeah, it was on up the hill there.
Can I ask one question you may not be able to answer? Did we turn anybody down from going to Cannon Elementary this year?
Yes,
After we done board? board
Yes,
policy?
we even sent some back after we told them they could go. Yes.
Okay, that's just what I had. Do
Yes,
we
we
know how
did.
many would be at North right now?
How many is it north?
No, how many,
That's at Woodbury.
if they went to where they're supposed to, whether their mom or dad's a teacher or
I don't
whatever,
know, I
do we
would have to
know?
go back and look, I don't know.
I just wonder how many, between substitute teachers and bus drivers, I just wonder how many that would be. Just
And I do
curious.
have some of the students of some of the teachers that are at middle school right now still, so not all of them are there,
Right,
but
and I
the
know
majority
that,
of them
I'm
are.
just saying,
Yeah.
from what
I
I've
can
heard.
think of five right now, right off the top of my head, that they are at the elementary school that are, but it's not a ton.
It's not a
Mhm,
ton.
it's not.
That's
about
not
five
the
of them.
major, no.
Okay.
It's not
I
a-
was just wondering.
No, and I don't know about subs.
The kids who came, who were zoned for like north or south and came that, like the first night,
Yeah,
that was the biggest, that was a huge number, that was,
yeah, we
That was a
sent
big,
those
big
back,
number.
we started sending
Yeah.
them back, and then some people wouldn't go back, they refused.
All right, I think that's a good discussion.
But then, if you leave fifth grade at each one of these three schools, I think we're going to have to look at some rezoning. So I'm not
Yes,
sure,
I believe so.
you know.
All right. The next item on the agenda is your comments.
I
I'll
think-
save mine and you'll save yours.
I will. I hope the next director's longer winded than me. You didn't hear that, folks, but, little pun there. I will save mine for tomorrow evening.
And remember, we have a budget meeting.
And we have budget meeting. I
I
just hope in your director search, for the record, I just hope in your director search that you can look for somebody that is more even long-winded than your current directors.
Agree? No, I'm just.
Thank you.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
You like to talk.
Interview question. Were you once a preacher?